What is
Number
up,
one.
risk takers? Welcome to the Kill Pete strategy. I am Pete. I am a top 10 player playing Risk Global Domination on PC. I have a daily release schedule on YouTube. I do a fixed game on Fridays. I do this show, the Waiting on Your Best Behavior podcast, on Wednesdays. And every other day I do whatever I feel like. If you're interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and come along this ride with me. Everybody, ready up. And today, for the podcast, we are doing an interview slash tutorial show with Infernox. And Infernox is a fixed caps guy, so I am admittedly shit on these settings, and I would like all the help I can get. So I appreciate you coming on the show, Infernox. And also, we have Sterling in voice chat. So how's it going, guys?
I'm happy to show off the game mode of champions.
Oh,
and
yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I'm very lucky. I got my favorite cap spot.
Look at that. Picks his cap right away. Doesn't miss a beat.
Why is that particular one your favorite?
Yeah, so the way I look at these different cap placements is I essentially wipe the board of any continents, and that they're mostly a distraction for players. And I look solely at... I kind of translate everything into like a discrete graph, which is to say every territory becomes a point, and like every connection between every territory is a line. And I essentially try and find the point that has the most lines connected to it, like directly, and then I put a cap there, and that cap is never going to get blocked. And
what
that's my
program
biggest
do you
fear.
use?
Oh, my brain. Usually I can find it fast enough. I think using a program would require a lot of optical screen recognition, which can get computation heavy, and my GPU/RAM can overheat pretty frequently, so I don't go too aggressive with that stuff.
So I chose the top part of Yukon. What do you think of that? Are we going to be friends or enemies this game?
I like to be friends with the person in the top part of Yukon, but that's usually the trap place, and that there's not actually that much room to do anything once you get to Yukon.
Okay.
After that, it's kind of, you're stuck there.
So I'm going to have to figure out another place to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's good to, have the Yukon bonus, but then you realize once everyone has +4s and +5s that it's not actually going to be worth much. Oh, that's a bot.
The bot puts its cap there a lot, I've noticed, in that exact spot, for a very random spot that you wouldn't usually see a human put it there.
So how come you made so many attacks?
Yeah, so what I try to do in these games is I try to play inefficiencies. So if everyone's thought is to only do one attack per turn, I don't do one attack per turn, and I try and find what they're missing in doing that. And that's kind of like part of my economic background is just doing that and seeing okay, if everyone is going in one direction, and even if that is the optimal strategy, the fact that everyone isn't playing every strategy means that one of the inefficient strategies has now become efficient, and that I need to be looking at that. Which is why, for example, in Prague World Dom, I will just immediately take any trade I get at the very beginning, and that is going to lead to a different outcome and a different strategy line that nobody else is considering, because everyone else is playing the fish game that you
that I promote. Yeah, absolutely. It becomes very dogmatic and self-fulfilling at a certain point. Man, look at that continent Sterling gets turn 1. That's pretty good.
Depends what the bot does, doesn't it?
That does depend, yeah.
Knowing
I
Storm,
think
you'll
this
probably
bot
hold
is coming across as quite continental. Yeah, so notice how, because bots like to glue stacks towards other big stacks, because Storm's cap's next to the bots and she's going to fortify hers, that causes the bot to fortify onto its cap, whereas if it wasn't next to another cap with a big stack on it, it generally would be much more likely to leave it undefended.
So Storm's zeal potentially to take that cap actually might be her undoing.
Yeah, it just depends on the roll, doesn't it? I feel like on a 4 you might lose 2, but at the same time you might lose 8 or 9. So it really can go either way.
No, Infernox, no.
This is the time where if it was like an actual tourney game, you'd be. Did you Flounder Blitz that?
Yeah, I noticed that my finger slipped on that one. I have my screen brightness very low to make sure that I can get as much out of this tablet as I can, and because of that, I'm making a few slight mistakes like that.
Okay, I was thinking that was some like crazy 200 IQ move, but like.
No, I wish.
Who is 100? Who is number one noob farmer? Does anybody know? This is a perfect record. They have not lost a game.
Their stats ring a bell. I feel like I've seen them post a screenshot of it in rank chat, but I can't remember who it was.
It's always cool to see a perfect record.
So with these sorts of games, I like to think about reputation a bit, and that like I know all of you, and I can kind of play off of what I know. So I know how Storm plays. I don't exactly know how Sterling plays yet. I know how Pete plays. I don't know how this new farmer plays.
Everyone knows how I play. I'm not hiding it at all.
In saying that, though, I struggle with it a bit because I have a bit of a reputation with Storm for taking her out, which I don't know when that started or why it's been so consistent, but I kind of am like her arch nemesis in any game that I play in with her.
I see.
So I'm noticing this turn that like I'm trying to plan out a strategy where I can make sure that I can get her at some point, and that's not going to be congruent to me winning this game. So I need to back off of that idea, and that she's kind of on the opposite side of the map and playing all the way over there, and I need to be focused on the people right next to me, which is getting the blood under control.
Don't do it, but you don't need to.
Continental. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Storm's not gonna like this.
What I'm doing is I'm just letting Storm take that cap. She'll take it at some point, and it just that having a cap right next to another cap is just a recipe for losing your cap at some point. So I refuse to touch those sorts of things. Like I just don't have anything that I can do if it's strategically.
Yeah, I stacked up extra on my cap just in case anything exciting happened with those two caps, so that I'd be ready to pick up the pieces.
Did that not count as exciting?
I mean, exciting would be anything that resulted in one of them being left over with not much on it. So, like, say the bot left a lot on it, and then you tried to hit it, or if Storm hit you now or something. But
yeah,
it looks quite stable for the moment.
Well, she is going to be allowed to hold that +6 by the looks of it, so Storm could pull off to an early lead potentially. But then again, you have a great... Like, what do you guys think of Saskatchewan? It's a 4 for 5, right? That's a great continent to hold.
Too much in the, like, firefight.
Yeah.
Like, it's right in between everything. And it'll always be, like, the one that's getting the brunt of the attack.
I have noticed that British Columbia... The British Columbia player does seem to do very well, right? Being off to the side like that, it's also worth +5, but you don't have the same amount of fronts to defend.
It can depend a lot on how the game is going as well. Like, sometimes if things are very stable, you want something to be quite open to make it easy to take cards. Whereas at other times, if something's very chaotic, you want to be safer.
That's more how you think about it. It depends on the context a lot. It's not just about the positioning, it's about the positioning relative to what everyone else is doing.
Saying that Vancouver right now is my highway to Storm, and if I ever want to get over to her, that is my fastest route to it.
Why are you focusing on Storm so much?
Well, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is like my mental frame whenever I'm in a game with Storm. Is I have, and then like I really get into like the personalities with the games. Like I know like, okay, who are my rivals, or my rivals, who are like the people that view me as a rival, and then like. In that, like, that's how I get the intrigue of the game. Like, it's not so much like interesting for me with like with the conflict between the strategies, and that like I generally know like once I figure out like what everyone's trying to do, who's gonna win, and it's just gonna come down to luck if they don't. So at that point, it's just kind of becoming a, like a game between people, as they say. Like, chess is not like a game of strategy and wit. It's more a game of will and, like, the ability to influence, like, and break the other opponent.
Definitely helps if you're good at chess, though.
I mean, yeah, that does make quite a big difference.
Hey, why do you need to hit my 2?
Oh, I don't want you too close to me.
It's not about need. It's about want.
You're the one person I'm worried about in this game, Sterling, and that I don't know you well enough to know what you'll do. I mean, I'm not worried about Noob Farmer, and that I figure they don't have a ton of free-for-all experience.
See, I'm guessing that's an out from someone quite good.
Yeah, by the looks of it.
Everyone just rips out 51-0
You can't just assume.
on the first account. I could sort of see that being Fluffy's account. But then...
I think that would be too on the nose.
I don't know that I've actually ever played them.
No, I've not either. I've challenged him a couple of times. He usually, like, they didn't have tokens.
An easy excuse. So Infernox, tell us about the name.
This is quite a risky time for me to make any bold moves as it's fixed, and anyone might be on the brink of trading in a big card set.
Calgary is my biggest problem, and that I have to have that bot under control, and I'm going to have to invest a lot in Vernon to really keep Calgary from becoming an issue for me. Because what I want to do in this situation is I want to just stack on my cap and just get that really high and that I don't have to think about it for 20 turns. But that Calgary spot means that I really need to be stacking lower, and kind of that pulling away my troops from where I want them is making things more complicated. Because I know it's a continental.
I misclicked in my deployment there, which was really annoying. I was about to kill the bot, but then the 10 that I tried to put onto the 2 at the top didn't go down.
Mm.
And now they've traded, so I can't.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have problems with black.
I don't know. Problem
very
seems to be fighting
surprised.
Storm, so I'll let them keep fighting. I don't need to make enemies.
If black doesn't touch you, I'm gonna be coming for you next turn.
Right, someone has to. But then
Okay.
we're at war, and I don't want to be at war with you either. I'm essentially giving you Northwest Territory.
Yeah, that would just mean I leave British Columbia and focus instead on probably Ontario. But that would not be ideal with the 2 caps right next to it.
I think often in fixed, if someone is getting a bigger income than me, but they have a lot fewer troops, it definitely raises an eyebrow and sort of makes me question it. Whereas if someone has more troops, then it's more ambiguous if they have a bit more than me.
Yeah, and at some point that also becomes self-fulfilling, right? You just let the guy who has hundreds of troops more than you dictate the course of the game, and everyone else plays for second and goes for the bounties. Right? Or am I still thinking about that wrong?
Okay, so black is going to war with you. Okay. Oh, they're very much going to war. I mean, it's all. The biggest thing with fixed caps is like you're balancing so many different like things that you can be doing at any turn, and you really have to decide like what you want to be doing and like what your mindset is. And that's kind of what I love about the game mode is like there's so much variance like game to game. Like if you are watching the small things.
Yeah, the number of potential different games is really high.
And I think the reason for that is because if you're choosing good settings and a good map, like you can really balance out like the real defensive boost that can come from the cap with like a very offensive map, like something like Pirates Bay or 2209 or something of that sort. And when that happens, like you get kind of an equilibrium that happens where like your strategy and your skill really can get a big influence in the game. Whereas like usually you're just playing catch up. See, this is interesting. I'm surprised you're not leaving that bot to just get bigger and become a problem for me.
Well, wouldn't it be a problem for both of you,
If
though?
it was a real tournament game, there's still, you still want to beat the bot for placement, don't you? Like, you don't want to lose to a bot.
No, I agree, but you'll be the one to get it. Or, well, you or me will be the one to get it first, unless Pete happens to get massive at some point.
Or I just get dumb lucky.
Yeah, I'd just rather, like, even if it comes at the cost of some troops, defeat the bot get defeated and maybe at least 5th, then the bot not be defeated and maybe in the top 6. Especially when there's multiple bots. Like, I'd rather place higher than them than lower than them.
Yeah, the placements really matter, but the bounties being 3 points now, it's so much more salient for the like.
Is Infernox going to be nice and break the bot on its 2, or is he just going to like be annoying and like make the bot get harder for us to deal with? Nope. He's not working together. Being a lone wolf.
So something that I'm usually doing in my games is I'm trying to really pick up income where other players are paying attention to it. And the easiest way to do that, and the most obvious way to do that, is to collect as many territories as you can, and just kind of pick them up in like places where people aren't looking. And you'll slowly just pick up income over other players. And that like kind of what fixed caps actually comes down to. People think it comes down to like the big swing, like, oh, I won like the cap roll or not. And I mean, that's your luck component, but like your skill is coming in like essentially your margin that you're running every turn for like your income relative to every other player, and that relative to like how many troops you're losing. So like let's say like I'm at like +1 over the course of like the past 5 turns versus like, I don't know, Pete's at like -1 and like Sterling's at 0, or like, I don't know, like New Farmer's at like -5 or something. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what they're doing, to be honest.
Well, they're picking too many battles, right? You can't beat Storm and I simultaneously, so now they're in a spot.
Yeah. I think they're just a bit of an aggressive player, but you don't get 51-0 by being hyper aggressive. You get it by being very.
Or you get it by farming noobs.
But that requires a real attention to detail that like aggression is just going to get in the way of. Like you cannot make even a tiny mistake in that sort of scenario. You have to really just.
Sometimes in play with friends, though, people do just play for fun, even if like there can be quite a big divergence between what people know is the good move and like what they want to do because it's fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fair. I forgot that not everyone's like me and kind of try hards 24/7.
Well, also I posted this in tourney practice, so the assumption is that we're all practicing for the tournament, and we're going to take this game like a serious practice. At least that's a big if, but.
I did find it quite funny on Reddit when someone made a post saying, "These grandmasters are so sad. I can't believe in an unranked game they were still trying hard." So, like, what do you want them to do? Like, just suicide for the sake of it to, like, entertain you?
What did I do to Storm? Okay, I'll get out of there.
It is a bit of a breath of fresh air to have the level of discourse that we have on Discord versus Reddit. I've found, some relief.
You'll notice right now that I'm at 18 territories, and the next highest is Storm at 11. that's how I'm trying to just build my income. Oh, okay, so this is how you're gonna play it.
Oof, okay. Aggression. Oh, okay. It is Storm versus Infernox. I didn't expect that dynamic at all.
This is what always happens in our games. And that, like, you know, we're so buddy-buddy on the server, and then we can kind of really let out all the aggression in the actual game.
Sterling, you taking the bounty? Looks like.
Yeah, it'll come at a cost, but I think
It's time.
yeah, there's benefit to it. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a lot better if I'd done it earlier when they had 21 and 3 cards rather than 29 and 3 cards, but I just literally misclicked.
Hmm.
Okay, it'll be nice to Infernox. I'm not attacking. So hopefully he'll reciprocate the favour.
Well, let's see, you're at +9, and I'm at +5, and then on territories probably 2 more. So +7. It'll come down to how Storm treats Pete, probably.
Oh, Storm's gonna be my best friend. What are you talking about? I'm letting her hold all that. She'll let me hold all this. Then we're happy. We're happy neighbors.
Yeah, if that happens, I think it's going to be an all-out war. And it's going to get very chaotic. Because none of us want a stalemate.
You talk a big game, my friend.
Oh, I'm just telling you what'll happen. Like, it'll be Sterling and me going to war. It'll be me and you going to war. It'll be Storm and Sterling going to war. Like, it'll be everywhere.
I don't want to go to war with anybody. I'm the nicest guy. I'm just chilling in Nunavut, and I'm going to have none of it. Yeah. The pity laugh. Okay.
Let's see. If I take Northwest Territory, it'll be to +11, which kind of makes me unworkable.
I'm very curious about your name, Infernox. What's the significance of Infernox 1771? I'm sure there's a story.
Yeah, so 17 was my first house number, so I guess that stuck with me a bit. And so that I suppose that's the less interesting part. And then the Infernox part came from of all things, a Lego minifigure.
Okay.
From when I was young, and that's where that name came from. Here, I'm gonna go be the devil or something.
She's not gonna like it, man. She's not gonna stand for it.
These are the games.
I'm a little bit confused. What was like the motivation behind that?
I suppose maintaining the understanding that Storm and I have in our games. That, like, once it starts, it will not stop. And also in that, like, I'm confident that I can win this position from her. And that there's just too many areas that she has to block off. She has to think about Black trying to get back in the game. She has to think about Pete deciding to expand even further. She has to think about me coming in through, Toronto.
Yeah, you do have double her troops.
And also this Pete cap that, like, nobody has been talking about in Thompson that is going to become an issue at some point.
Why is that?
But in that, like, it's right in the middle of everything. And because of that, like, what can happen is you can kind of stage right in the middle of, like, a fire. And Caps is really about staging a lot of the times. And, like, where are you? Where's your presence? Like, what can you do with what you have? And, like, just positioning. People think that it's a lot more about continents, but the continents are kind of just a means to an end. Like, the continents give you the troops to do something. Like, the position actually, you know, it gives you the place to put the troops to then do those things. And it's kind of just trying to get your strategy and your actions closer and closer to the actual thing that you want, which is either to win, or which to win is to have 6 caps at the end.
Well, not in these. You gotta get those bounties. So you gotta pick people off one by one.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Which means getting your position in place where I have something like where I'm close to Black, and I'm able to.
Yeah, but you think Storm's gonna let you live there for very long?
Not at all. So what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to try and establish something with her and see what happens.
I mean, I feel by those frownies that, oh, you're like, I could break you, but I choose not to.
Yes.
Or are you just stunting on me?
I'm not quite sure what the signal you're sending there is.
So what I'm going to do actually is
It's
not
like
trust her.
two bullies.
I don't trust her for a second with that one.
Oh, Black's gonna try again.
Oh,
Oh, what are you?
yeah, he's trying to send a message as well.
Don't break me, I
I
won't
mean,
break you.
Starts keeping her cap very low on troops. I mean, I suppose Sterling is too, but Sterling has good reason.
I guess she can see that no one has a big stack next to her.
Yeah.
Black does a little bit.
Okay, yeah, fuck off. This is gonna get ugly.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Well,
Yeah. And just Sterling quietly putting in, what was that, 14? Oh, very nice.
I mean, you got plus 15,
I wouldn't worry about what I'm doing.
plus 16.
So what I'm gonna do here is disengage from British Columbia, and then there's no way I'll be able to hold it. With
So I think
Storm
me
over
and
there.
Pete are getting the same continent bonus, except he's getting the +2 from having the extra cap.
Yep. Which is what I'm talking about, with it just kind of hanging around and making a difference. Oh, don't get greedy, Pete.
That was greedy?
Oh no, I'm just warning you, don't go for it all.
Crossing the boundary.
No,
into
no,
the
no, no,
12
no, no.
groups.
Take the continent. Yeah, I'm not crazy. I'm not. That wouldn't work.
But the point is now, even when Pete loses one troop for the card, he'll now be on the 12 territory still. Maybe I should do that.
Oh, Infernox. This is just like this. This is just that ego thing, you guys. Like, neither
Yeah,
of you
I
wants to
definitely
back
get
down.
the sense that this is. There's a lot of play with friends moves I'm seeing that wouldn't be the same if this was
Yeah,
the real tournament game.
absolutely.
Actually, this is exactly how I play in my ranked games and that sort of thing. In that I found that when I make the game fun for other players, they want me to stay alive. They want like me to stay and keep going. And I found that to really work out well for me, actually.
Well, even in
So-
tournaments.
Yeah, even in tournaments, I struggle a bit more in tournaments in that like no one wants to engage with it necessarily because it's so high intensity. But I tried to do that in my round one game. I've
You're
been
doing
really
quite
impressed.
well for territory count as well. You'll
Yeah,
stay
I'm just-
above 15 after we take a card. Well, I mean, depending what the others do.
Yeah, I don't expect that to last here. I expect Storm to try and run through me. But we'll see how much she camps. She can get a bit campy when like the game starts slowing down for her. Why is she trying to hold that? That's interesting.
She doesn't have a
I
continent.
would,
Storm needs a continent.
yes, but she also has a back door with you and Black, and I don't know. I would never feel secure with that. If I was me, I would put everything on her cap right now and look to either disrupt Pete and get an alliance with me and Blue going, or try and
Yeah, but I know
do
how to
something
not
else.
upset people, so I can make friends with Storm, and you can't.
See, but this is the key thing, and is not getting cross-eyed when people will play that peace game,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is how you win. Like you have to ignore all the essentially
Yeah,
the niceties.
I'm just gonna keep hitting you because you keep hitting me,
Ah.
and then neither of us are gonna win.
And we finally hear the true story.
See, this is why I disengage. So you have a free hit if you want.
I mean, I could break you this turn. Quit hitting me. I don't know what Black's problem is either.
I think Black's just aggressive,
Might
which is a
be.
bit weird in that there
Did
can't
you, Storm? Did you check their record?
Yeah, 50-0. That's pretty good.
51.
Oh, 51-0. That's
51
pretty
and
good.
0.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Who is this person?
I think that I think I know who it is, but then I think I don't actually. So
Right.
whoever they are, they're pretty good, but they're very mean.
Are you cheesed that I took that cap in Manitoba?
Yes, that was.
I'm sorry. it had to be done because I'm after the bot.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
so
know.
much about turn order, isn't it, when a bot drops a cap?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, I mean, a lot of things, actually, the turn order matters when sudden things happen. Like, even when a bounty pops up or something, it matters a lot who's just after it.
I go zero carding for a while. What I need is to kind of hide in the shadow of Pete.
Why would zero carding help?
In that, literally just fewer interactions happening on the screen for me. And that just having it be something that, like, I'm kind of forgotten about behind Pete. And that he has so many troops up there. And I would say you as well, but you're kind of just like a stronghold. And, like, you're more of a defense for me than, like, a distraction.
You shift from being hyper aggressive to hyper passive.
Yeah, this is exactly the key. Is like always trying to like jump on the equilibrium and not like trying to like do these like small shifts. Just like once I see like a shift in the game, just go immediately and like don't look back. I think my first fixed caps game, what happened was I got an alliance with the person in Saskatchewan, and we teamed up against Yukon. And then what happened after that? I believe after that it was kind of us both going through Toronto and me giving up British Columbia so we could do that.
That's a little message that you wanted to make an alliance with the person in Saskatchewan.
It's just always very convenient, and that we can kind of defend each other. Yeah, I'll be zero card.
On average, is a fixed card worth about 4 troops?
I assumed it was somewhere between 3 and 4, but yeah.
I think I remember working out, like, because it can 3 of them can either be 3 infantry so you can either get +4, +6, +10. So between those, you'll get a slightly lower number if you average it out. But then on top of that, if you add the +2s that you'll sometimes get on trades, and you add the wild cards, you'll come out with a slightly higher number, which I think is what brings it up from about 3.5 to about 4.
Yeah, that'll get you there. And that'll get pretty close. There's quite a few probabilities you have to multiply together there to get to that. But
yeah, because there's actually different numbers of each type of card as well. Like, there's more. Well, it depends on the map, but like, for example, on Classic, there's a couple more. I can't remember which way around it is, but I think it might be like more infantry than artillery, or the other way around.
yeah, I think it was the infantry.
I might run out of cards soon.
It's usually the position that I'm most afraid of in my games is when I can't get other players to do actions. Because at that point, then I need to show them that I'm willing to take actions. And at that point, what that is that puts me at risk if they still do not take actions.
Why is Black saying good game?
Because I'm getting suicided into.
Because you broke his continent.
Because I'm getting suicided into.
Yeah.
Well, because you broke his +3.
Oh well, Storm did it 7 times. I do it once, so I guess
That is
I'm
such a play with friends move. There is no way he would suicide on round 13 if this was a real tournament game.
Well, let's see if he does it. Maybe we're calling it out, and that's not what's going to happen.
Well, if he does, he's literally just doing this.
I love it. That's
Yeah. No, but like if you're going to do that, why not go the whole way?
He didn't lose too much from that, did he? He lost 40 hitting a 36. Oh, yeah, because it wasn't a cap.
Why not go the whole way?
See, they're trying to make a point.
What point?
They're not.
Stay in your corner.
If anything,
But-
he's now more.
He broke
Easy
my
to keep
+6 twice now. I've only broke his +3 once.
Oh, Storm's opened me up. Does she want me to try and take? I mean, 37 is costly, isn't it? Especially if I get a bad roll. Have I got cards?
Just get him.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so I think it was just territory count.
Just do it. You want those bounty points, right?
So, Pete, you want a weaker Sterling, right?
Yeah, no
now.
kidding.
I set you up. Get it.
I feel like
I set you up.
I feel
Get
like
it.
that's obvious to everybody that I want a weaker Sterling. Sterling crunching the numbers in his head. Is he going to make the move?
That's what I'm concerned about for Sterling. I wouldn't actually think there's enough troops at the moment. What we're kind of doing right now is I'm zero carding, and because of that, Sterling's a bit card blocked. If Sterling wants to keep that attack lane open for him. So, okay, here's what I'm doing. Let's do this at this point. Okay.
Pete doesn't seem to be seeing his second cap as very important.
Oh, it's important.
Yeah, Sterling, I would take that if I were you.
It's important.
Here, because I'm good buddies with Sterling, I want to really make sure I have a solid thing going with him. I will
Good
break
luck.
up the... There we go. Because the obvious thing to do in this situation is to start whittling me down, and that Sterling's card blocked. There's a free 1 right next to him. So I need to make sure that I'm really on good terms. Trying to figure some smaller things I can highlight that I usually try and think about in games. Something I do like to try and do when I can is try and keep my external borders small, but then behind that really stack up high. And that usually if the players are going to look at me, they're going to look at the external borders, and that those are the ones close to them. And what I can do with that is I can appear smaller than I actually am. And I can play that up and do things like, say if I'm stacking up my capital and I don't want attention on it, I can only stack up to 99 instead of going to 100. And that if it goes over 100, they're going to start thinking it's much bigger than it actually is, even if I only added 1 more troop.
Interesting move, Sterling.
Yeah, no, I misclicked.
Yeah, it looks
It was,
like.
you know, like as the cards came in, I just clicked to trade the cards, but that ended my. Look.
Oh, your fortification. That's happened to me before where I wasn't able to fortify.
Yes, just like you
because-
by trading in the cards,
Yeah.
it's like it skipped my turn to stump groups.
So, I feel like we can all get together and petition SMG to remove it doesn't seem to me for there to be a structural reason why we can't click back from fortify, from attack.
Yeah, like sometimes you just misclick and it's like.
Yeah, it's kind of
Just
game.
annoying.
It can be game ruining. Why not just give us an option to toggle back from fortify if we haven't made the fortify?
Yeah, and deploy as well. Like sometimes you'll
Yep.
just like place like one troop in the wrong place, but you've not actually finished your deploy phase. And there's no like you can't back deploy.
Yeah.
Like even if you're still in the deploy phase.
We'll get some upvotes on these.
I want to take one of your caps, Pete.
Why? That would be really hard for you. You're like the short stack here. You want to be an even.
I
You
know.
want to be an even shorter stack?
The
I like
question
being
is
short.
well the question is which is his good cap out.
Why don't you take Sterling's cap instead?
Why?
Because you have less on yours than he does.
Yeah, but like.
And like the thing is, Pete's not gonna get revenge when he's got 3 caps because that's like not that special to him, whereas I've only got one.
Exactly.
I haven't even broke you once, man.
I'm probably going to end up taking that cap and my bonus there. I'm
Not
sorry.
even once. All right.
If I was Pete in this situation, I would want a cap hit on Thompson, so that someone loses a lot of troops.
You drive a hard bargain, Storm.
I was just responding to Pete's snatching of my cap. Was what I mean.
Oh, that was a really good roll.
You drive a hard bargain. But I know better. I know better than
Wait,
to...
why didn't you fortify?
It's my cap now.
It's her cap now.
Why can't Infernox take it there?
Well, let's
Yeah.
let him fight that fight.
What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take on Terry.
Ah.
Where's Ontario?
Oh, you're going to try and get a second bonus? I'm not going to let you do that.
But Storm, I'm letting you have the cap. I could just put
That's
20 on.
right,
I could just put 20 on there and make you lose 50 troops in taking the cap.
We're not even doing tournament practice anymore because we're just chatting. Everyone can talk to each other. It's like, enjoy your cap, Storm.
Yay!
Yay!
And my bonus
and your
maybe won't
bonus.
happen.
Yeah, that's what's that worth? That's worth 7 troops this move. How lucky are you?
Oh, I need a better scroller.
That was a 7 troop gain.
Very nice. So at this point, Sterling's her only threat to, start mixing things up. And with the current troop totals, depends if Sterling thinks he can get back into first place. If attacks start coming on Storm, which right now, as the game's going, I'm kind of lying in Pete's shadow and just watching and waiting to see if anything happens. Now, we have to understand as well that when I'm in VC and saying, "Hey, I'm the shadow," it doesn't really work being the shadow. But this is more for dramatic effect at this point.
Well, and you're also helping the audience understand your thought process, which is kind of the whole ethos of this video specifically.
Exactly. This is not a game to win. This is a game to teach.
I think there, I was weighing up. Should I hit Pete a little bit because he was being a bit annoying, taking my cap and then hitting my stack, but then I don't know. It didn't seem that beneficial.
What I would do if I was Pete here is I would start getting very aggressive.
So Sterling, you showed me what you were willing to do with that stack, right? So it wasn't necessarily against you. I just needed to remove you from your position behind my lines, right?
But equally, you're
very scary and
plus
large.
21.
Yeah, I'm very scary and large. I get it. So who's going to do something about that? Because it looked like Black was trying, and now where are they? If only there was some method of communication for you three to talk to each other and coordinate your attacks.
That's my biggest fear right now is we get in a freeway alliance because I don't want that.
Why?
Because what I want is to never be at war with UP. Because what's gonna happen is you're right next to me this whole game.
Yes.
I'm gonna be the first person you come for in that situation.
You're riding the coattails.
I wouldn't say riding the coattails necessarily. I'm using how big you get to make the shadow bigger.
What do you mean, Burb? What does she mean, Burb? You can't ask to take my cap and then bot out. Okay, good. Burb, get out of here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, my biggest fear is that Storm starts coming for me again to kind of continue the meme. see here. How's my bonus? I got +5 and +5. That's about right where I want to be. You don't want to have the biggest bonus, because that's the person that gets attacked. You want to have the second biggest bonus.
This is true. I've noticed that as well.
Like,
Is
to the point that,
a
like,
caps lesson, or is that a fixed caps lesson?
That's just a
It's
risk
fixed in
lesson.
general, isn't it? I mean, in improv caps, it's more about being able to take a card late game.
Yeah, that's my problem that I get with prog caps is, like, there's so little that you can actually do to affect anything in the game. Like, either someone misclicks, or you can block someone in on their cap and kind of just keep them trapped. Or there's something else you can do as well. But you just don't have very many options. But, like, there was at one point when Papa Doc asked me to, I think, name like 20 different things that I could be thinking about on any given turn in these games, and I mean, I got to 20 easily, and I think I started going to 30 before I got stopped. In that, like, there's always so many things to look at.
Did he ask you as a joke?
I never quite know. I never quite know.
What is it that you said about yourself that one time? Endearingly earnest, or do I have it right?
I wouldn't quite remember at this point, but it sounds on the nose.
Sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, like, sometimes someone will ask a question as a joke, and I know full well that it's a joke, but if I've got a good answer, often I will I'll give it anyway.
So this is doing the thing that I mentioned here, where I don't want to be at 10. I want to be right below that, so that it's literally like it's not as wide of a button on the screen, so that it's not something you as easily notice. Like, you have Pete's 19 and Pete's 20 right there, and you have my cap, and then you have this 9, which is smaller than a 10, but it's just sitting there ready if I ever needed to get involved in anything.
That is extremely psychological.
Yeah, exactly. I play a very psychological game, which
I like that.
I wanted to talk about that a lot, in that, like, I knew Sterling was here, and Sterling thinks about that sort of thing a lot, and
Sure.
I never quite know how much you do as well. I know it's something that you understand, but I've never been quite sure how much you manipulate, like, the game with it.
I do it intuitively, not intentionally. So
Okay.
I play, I would say, more than both of you guys. I play a lot more on feel.
Yeah, I'm very heuristics. Like,
Sure.
like, to the point that, like, my like, every territory in my continents is usually, like, planned out beforehand heuristically, and based on, like, the amount of connections it has to, like, any other territory, like, one given territory. It's not quite set up that way right now, but, like, if you look at the 5 versus the 7 that, like, I have down at the bottom in Vernon and Vancouver, Vancouver has 4 different connections at the moment, and Vernon has... Oh, it has 4 as well. I need to switch that off. But, like, what I'm going to do there is I'm going to move Vernon down to a 5 and use essentially the connections that's happening to suggest how useful that territory is to me and how much I want to strengthen its defense and protect it, essentially. And this isn't to say that, like, this is the best way of playing. It's that if you're going to use a strategy, you have to go all in on the strategy. And that if you don't, then you're in trouble.
Whereas here, by playing round numbers and spreading them equally, although while a little suboptimal in terms of position, it does keep a bit of a poker face in terms of not giving away which direction I'm planning on going.
Greedy Pete.
Yeah. I hear you. Message received.
I mean, to be fair, I would have done the same thing as you, and I probably would have done it like 10 turns earlier. And that, like, someone has to decide to coke at you, and realistically, it has to be 2 of us. And putting pressure on the players is how the game moves, and how
much of
really...
that is you hanging out in my shadow then?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, is, like, when can I get involved? Because what I need, essentially, is a really strong ally, and that strong ally for me is Sterling. But Sterling is horrible position for, like, getting involved with you. in that I'm in the way, Storm's in the way, and there's not like a good path. Like the best path is through, frankly, Toronto, and I control Toronto. And frankly, I need to start stacking on Toronto to really like lock that up and make that a gate. Hey, that's not what a really close ally does. Oh, never mind. Okay, cool.
See, the question is, at this point, he's probably going to hit me anyway. So am I just as well to break that +6 as well? Or by showing some mercy, will he show me some mercy as well?
Well, you'll find out.
Oh, no response, but
You'll find out.
With this sort of thing, like when
I think
my allies
sometimes you reach a point, don't you, where they're going to hit you back anyway.
Yep.
So, like, you kind of got to recognize that it's a little bit too late that round to come off as their friend.
The thing I'm always worried about when I get in these like multiplayer wars or 2+ player wars is like, is it just going to lead to another stalemate? And that like there's nothing gained in that sort of situation. And my trick to figuring that out is like figuring out Storm and figuring out, is Storm going to sit on her position or is she going to get involved? And I think I can get her involved.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a fine line as well between, like, there's no point just sitting there and letting beat win entirely, but at the same time, like, you don't want to waste all your troops all the time.
Okay, so we're gonna go. What are we gonna do here?
Like now he's on 200 and you're nearly on 200. It's much less of a concern that he's just going to win by default.
So what I'm assuming here is I'm gonna get both my consonants broken.
I thought about it.
So I'm not necessarily even trying to predict it, is the thing. Like, I've given you a free lane, and something that can do psychologically is discourage you. And that, like, oh, well, I wanted to, like, get the continent. I wanted to break you. I didn't want you just to give it to me. So that can discourage action. Or I can just protect my troops. Yeah, I'm assuming Storm's not going to want to get involved. Which I suppose is alright, but we'll just have to figure out whether Sterling and I have enough might to make sure that this game does not get out of hand.
I think he's alright for the moment. I think, like, if you look, I've got 165, you've got 182, so
yes,
I don't think
like,
he's just going to like wipe us out both.
But our fear is if Storm
it's
just sits. Because if Storm gets, say, like 100 more troops than anyone else, that can get ugly, because that's a situation where she'll start running away with it, and that she doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It's usually she doesn't take the opportunities that are there, so she's not going to make a mistake later. Maybe you all see differently, but that's been my experience, and that's usually what happens when you're a more conservative player. Is you see the opportunity and you don't realize how big an opportunity it is. Oh. Playing a very interesting game now. Unfortunately, I'm loyal to a fault, so it's not going to matter, but it's a very interesting game for the actual tournament.
It's the upside downside of putting so much of my mind out there, right? Is that I would say I'm probably a little too predictable for you guys.
I wouldn't say exactly watch your videos, but certainly they have been a good introduction for me. To,
or even when you play with someone enough, right? We've played a couple of times.
Exactly. That's where I've learned more about you. But I don't think it's any different, like when you're like watching someone play, or like watching some video of someone play. I think that's like, I don't think it's any different of any. Oh, I fucked up. I ran out of time. That's, well, I just lost like 15 troops.
Where's that?
I got a feeling that I'm gonna get run through by, if not Pete, then Storm. But we will see. But like this experience online, where like you can talk to people, and you could even like experience people online asynchronously, where you're just watching videos of them. Like, I don't think that's any different than like sitting on a couch with them and just like kind of having a chat. And I think that really solves a lot of the social problems that like we always see with people, where like we need our social interaction and we need to like feel like we are like a part of a collective to either not get depressed or like get a higher purpose. And I don't know, I found it very interesting that like all the mental health problems and that sort of thing are still as bad as they are, and seem almost exacerbated by like things like the internet and connectivity, despite how linked and how much potential there is with it. Because I don't believe in malicious intent. Like I think very few people are intentional with that, and that it's kind of hard to be intentionally malicious. You have to have a lot of determination.
The Pete last turn hit my 20, and then on top of that made me lose 9 worth of bonuses, making him 30 troops against me. So then I balanced it out with 20 plus the 2 of his bonus, so he was net 8 my enemy. And now he's cost me another 9, putting up to...
I'm not going to stop. If you keep hitting me, I'll keep hitting you. I'm not going to stop. You have to stop because you started it.
Well...
That sounds like a very low.
On top of the 8, you've added another 9 troops, bringing it up to 17.
Play with what that thing is that I mentioned, and then we're gonna do it over. No, we're gonna keep that where it is. We're gonna go up to 20 here.
Right, because you started it, so I'm gonna have to keep pushing you. And I keep like I keep batting the ball back to you, right? It's like, do you want to keep fighting? Do you want to keep fighting? You're thinking of it in terms of balancing. I'm thinking of it in terms of stop. Infernox doesn't have to do anything.
It's more I don't want to do anything. I don't want any attention on me.
Yeah.
I want eyes everywhere else.
Yeah, totally.
But what I also want in that is I want immediate like opportunities to counterattack, which is what I'm doing in Thunder Bay and Prince Rupert. Is if anyone tries to break my continents, it's immediate response. But they're not going to notice that immediately, in that they're focused on the external borders, and the external borders are very small everywhere. So it looks like I'm weak, but actually, like right behind there is I have these kind of like mini capitals that I'm creating. Yep. Okay, that's a good move. Like that. And because I am loyal to a fault, we will do that. If Sterling's back, Sterling has had my back the entire game. And I do not forget that, because what happens with loyalty, if you play it correctly, is you actually kind of speak to the person, and you convince them that like you are there for them. I don't necessarily work with Sterling, that Sterling's like someone that has like free accounts in the top 100 and so experienced with this game that like he's a bit impervious to like these mind games. But it's not even necessarily a mind game, which is why it works. Like I am being very like amicable, and like I am being very like a real good teammate to him. That makes you want to like reciprocate that. But you know, go. Here comes our all-out war.
Yes. Good.
So we're just fine, actually. Okay. Is this sort of a situation that I would love to self-commentate, but like the kind of the problem that happens is like so much is happening at once that like there's too much to talk about. Okay, I'm gonna make you regret that.
No.
You don't leave stacks in my territories.
You can
Whoa, look at that roll.
That was not bad. You net like 10 gain from that.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous roll. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make sure Sterling doesn't just lie in wait. I'm not quite sure why I don't play Ares more often in that. I'm like always very, very prepared for like a player like Ares, and like I do very well against that sort of player because like what they want is they want to be like as like Moody would put it, like they want to be the snake, and they want to just like wait for someone to walk by and then kind of nip them in the ankle. And I'm always very ready for that, and that like I want to like make sure that they aren't able to just sit there and do nothing. They have to get attention on themselves. But what Sterling really doesn't want is a two-front war with Pete and Storm. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds. And that I don't know what Sterling thinks. The game is also progressing about how it usually does for me. Like my strategies are designed to have me peak around rounds 20 to 35, and that like I play very much to weaken my early game, and I try and maximize like my mid, like my like.
That's all thought through?
Not in thought through, like, but noticed, because I'm very I've always been so focused in my life on being intentional, because I'm not remotely intentional. Like I am incredibly impulsive and very bad about like being intentional. So because of that, what I've had to be is very, very observant and like really understand like, okay, why is my brain thinking this? What is going on? Like, how can I justify how I'm acting? And like, how can I understand like why exactly something is happening so that I can make it not keep happening? Like something like the long messages that I was sending in Discord. Like I understood why that was happening. And I figured out a solution based on that, which was, okay, I'm gonna like literally like only use keyboards on my phone that like I cannot type fast in. And if I want to type fast, I have to go pull out my computer. But I know I'm lazy and I don't want to pull out my computer, so I'm not gonna have that problem anymore. It's like this is how I guess this is how I solve problems necessarily. And like I'm kind of trying to build a livelihood for myself around just kind of solving problems. And I mean, we'll see how that goes. But oh, this is gonna be interesting. I'm kind of trying to get more involved in subcontracting to get that to be a bigger thing for me. But I'm convinced that like the gig economy is really here, and that like it's much more of a creative world now than it ever was before, and it's a bit post-capitalist. But this is also like moving beyond what anyone has possible interest in. We're here for risk, and
that's not entirely true at all. I particularly enjoy, and let's assume that this is for me first, right? And I particularly enjoy hearing you talk about these sorts of things. So any ideas you want to share is exactly why I do this show once a week, because we can broaden our context outside of just the game, and you can tell me what you think about economics and the post-gig economy. Rather, what did you say, post-capitalist?
Yeah, I mean,
what does that look like when you say it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just figuring out like what's the next big thing, and that'll last like 200 or 300 years, And kind of what I've seen with economics is that, like, it's just like a bit of an undulating game, and that, like, everything is already there, and all the pieces to, like, any economy already exist. It's just like which piece is really the key one in that moment. And I wrote up a whole thesis on this, but or mapped it out anyways. And what I should do in this moment is I should pull that out. But yeah, I'll have to re-reference that for you at some point. But I remember with capitalism, it's really maximizing the risk potential and, like, your opportunities and your viability for wealth. And what I see as the next thing is kind of maximizing money velocity and really maximizing your opportunities to just get money moving as fast as possible in the economy. And that seems to be where control can come. And that seems to be where...
gone from fewest troops to most, which is quite impressive.
That's exactly what he was, what Infernox was commenting on earlier. It's like what he doesn't want to happen is for her to just sit.
He's got nearly 1,000 play with friends games, so I think that could be part of an explanation of why she's so good in this sort of context.
But the only situation I'm concerned about is a massive lead, because what can happen is you get a small lead and you get ambitious, and you start thinking that you're able to do more than necessarily your position affords. Like, yes, she's in the lead, but she's 213 troops out of, 350, I don't know, 510 about. So you're looking at like some 30% maybe. Someone can correct me on the math in the comments, but that's not a very dominating position. That's not something that you're going to be able to do much in the game with. Is this a bot out?
Oh, yeah. We watched it out yesterday as well.
A bit disappointing in that she got the position she needed, but that also makes it more interesting for us.
Yeah, kind of bullied me for it too.
Well, this is the best of all worlds. Storm won in a way, but we get to keep playing. We get to play it out as if this didn't happen.
Well, so here's where my head is at. I'm curious to see where you go with it, Infernox. So if you are loyal to a fault, and now, right, I'm in last place, then the game is hopeless for me. So why don't I just suicide into you?
See, this is the problem with that mindset. Like,
you never know who's going to bot out, though, do you? So, like, for example, Storm botting there. If she did, and then, like, maybe I needed to go for dinner or something.
Sure.
All of a sudden,
but like in a tournament, though. In a tournament.
I mean, even in tournaments, I think like disconnect or just people needing to go is very common. So you never know. So long as you can stay alive, you never know what will happen around the corner.
Sure.
Exactly.
But I was more speaking. I was more speaking to my relationship with Infernox in this game specifically, right? If he has already overtly stated to me that he will not stop, then there's really no hope for me, so I might as well just ruin his game.
You still might out-survive one or two more people, or you might get bounties and stuff, so like I feel like you'll do more by playing than by just, like, especially now Storm's botted out, like, it'd be surprising if you're smart to... Oh no, she is back now.
Yeah. It would be surprising if I'm not smarter than a bot. Is that what the thought you had?
Yeah, exactly. If you can't out-survive the bot, even under slightly unfavorable conditions, that would be a surprise.
Right.
I feel like as well, particularly with caps, where suiciding would cost you a lot.
Oh yeah.
It'd be, if anything, better to bot out than just slam yourself into a cap and lose the game.
Yes. Because then the bot gets ignored. So depending on the moment.
You can often squeeze out a placement or two.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's the very reason I've never quite understood the mentality with that. I mean, there's something cathartic to just, throwing your troops at someone. But
no, it's not that. It's
like making a statement.
No, I'll try and explain it to you guys, and again, like, critique the thought, please. I value my time more than winning. So if
But
I
then why play in the first place?
because I've already lost. Right?
I don't know. I once won a 5v1.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it did take me a few tries, and I got quite lucky in that game. But like, you never know what's going to happen with a little luck and some surprise moves.
This is kind of the problem in fixed caps, though. Like, the actual area that people need to improve is like once you get into like round 50 or round 60, because they just
Yeah, it's so
haven't,
hard
like,
to practice that because it just to get there takes time.
yes, because like it just gets so abstract, and like everything is just built from like all the previous rounds, and like it's like, okay, I'm allies with you, but you were my mortal enemy like 30 turns ago. How do I manage that situation? Like that is not like a situation you're ever going to deal with in like prog roll time, or like, hey, like nobody cares about continents right now, and we're just chilling and we're waiting for like this one player to do something, and everyone knows we're waiting on this one player, including that one player, and nothing happens until they do anything. What do you do then? Like, and this is kind of how Risk works, in that like it's a bit of a toolbox game. Like in how I heard it put by someone, or read it being put by someone, is like you just kind of collect these tools and these responses to all these different situations, and like as you're doing that, you know better how to like precisely respond to any of these problems. And I mean, you can play on feel, or you can play on experience, and I play on a lot more experience. But when you have that experience, like you know what's needed, like in these different situations. Like if I know Storm is in the situation she is, I know how to respond. It's not necessarily the response that's going to be pleasant, but it's the only response, like if I want to improve my position. And like just that sort of way of playing.
How did I end up with like double the troops as you guys?
But see, I warned about
Oh,
this.
sure.
Of course, we could timestamp the time when I first warned about it, but it was a clear camping position, and it was just nobody stopped you.
I think it can be a play with friends thing as well, that the positions can be quite volatile. Whereas often in tournaments, like you'll see one person winning, and then like nobody is as willing to lose their position in order to stop that person winning.
What I would really like to do here is have Pete cap blocked, but that's not going to be possible. And that
Yeah, I think on this map as a whole is really, really tough to do that because the caps are so open.
That's sort of when you get stalemates. It's like when you can't like
Do
either
anything.
block someone off or like just So here I will unlock Pete a little bit and try and make this a bit easier. And that like the last thing I ever want to happen in a game is I have multiple allies. I want one ally the entire game, and that never changes. What I want with every other player is I want sometimes an ally and then sometimes like neutral. And if I can avoid having ever enemies, I'm gonna win fast. But usually I'll have some form of an enemy, and that I need something to rally an ally around. And that like it's much easier to communicate, slam into green, than perform like a complex series of maneuvers over the next 15 rounds to make sure that both of us have the most troops.
Yeah, I think often it's easier, especially in global games, it's easier to find the sort of ally who doesn't attack you than the sort of ally who is willing to make attacks with you. And even harder is the sort of person who's willing to make advanced maneuvers with you.
Yeah. And that's why I really try and focus on communication as much as possible. And like, how can I like get an understanding of like essentially the linguistics behind like the emotes, and that like the emotes are my answer to communicating.
I really like the card emote in certain situations. Like, it's very good for if you're card blocked or you're trying to card block someone, just drawing other players, like drawing people's attention to cards being the motivation behind what you're trying to do, rather than it being somehow about the territories.
So what makes me nervous in this position is I do remember Pete saying that he values his time, which is usually a cue psychologically to tell someone that they have to go. So I'm nervous that I'm going to be the one taken out next, and that I know Pete is someone that's willing to try this, like, you know, throw all your troops into someone maneuver.
Well, I already knocked out your 50 stack in Ontario.
Well, I didn't need to know it from that, but
when
yeah,
I was in a losing position, so that's a signal.
Yeah, and that's to say that like you want to hit the next highest up.
Well, but
and
also
that's
you're
your
not.
best chance.
But also you're not going to stop, right? You've shown me, and you've also told me that you're not going to stop. So there's no way I can establish a win in my head.
See, this is the key.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk to you. That's why I'm talking to you about this. I want to get it, man. I don't get it.
But, and I should say the key is I actually am stopped.
Okay.
Because what I want most is actually to pick each of you off one by one, and just get it to a 1v1 situation that I know I can win.
Yeah, but everyone wants that.
And what I want most is actually to be on good terms with you, be on best terms with Sterling, and have Storm be like my mortal enemy, because I got to keep up like the running joke there. So I'm absolutely willing to stop attacking you. Where I'm at is I am not willing to attack Sterling, no matter what.
Sure.
But you are willing to attack me. My feelings are hurt.
Well, I don't quite get how this works. Like, there's like a weird memification that happens with like people that seems to have like become a thing in the past. And you all are, I mean, aside from Sterling, you all are for the most part older than me, so you have more experience with this. But I don't quite understand how like this has happened. Like with like whatever this meme culture is exactly societally. Like where like kind of just people become memes, or like just like these interactions with people, or like these entire ideas just become like these. And by memes, what I mean is just like these thought like generating devices.
Yeah, but that's how it's always been.
Well, see, this is what I was wondering. Was like, is it just like they've gotten much better, or what? Like, what exactly has happened here?
I don't think there's a change. I think if anything, the change is you. I don't think there's anything new going on. Ideas spread as memes. But maybe I just don't fully understand your question.
Oh, I mean I suppose that was exactly what I was looking for. Is just like, okay, is it that like technology has made them so compelling now that it looks like there's something new, or is it that they're brand new, like as a thing?
No,
but
it's that we can communicate in a heartbeat with anyone, anywhere, at any time. That's the change, right? Ideas spread way faster now because of the interlinked way that people are able to communicate because of technology, and that's improving and that's increasing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree,
Yeah.
And it supports what I've been noticing more and more as like I see more and more is that like this like childlike curiosity that I'll get in thinking that I found something new. It's never actually new. It was always there, and it was just I had never noticed it, and that I can be very oblivious to this. And this sort of situation where I want to get the game to is I want to get myself to a 2-cap game, and that's how I win my 1v1s. Is I always have more caps than someone else. I can't win a 1v1 if.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was kind of hoping Pete would suicide into that to save
I
the cost of just having to hit his cap.
Say again?
see.
What was the thought?
That if you would suicide into my stack,
Into your 40,
it would be just a cheaper way of...
It's a cheaper way, yeah. Yeah. I'm not falling for it that easy, man. You want to hit me, you gotta hit me.
Peggy did it the other day. He was like, huh, you never thought I'd really hit that, did you? He was like, look at me, big man, hitting the stack.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of the caveman here that like has unlocked the caveman that's like running a zoo, like to be anachronistic, and like he has unlocked like the cage for the lion, and he doesn't trust the lion for a second, but what he does trust is like what he doesn't trust, which is like the unpredictability, and wants to use that.
I'll go back.
Which isn't to say that you're necessarily
I'm confused
unpredictable.
by why Infernox all of a sudden has only one bonus when like not that long ago he had two.
This is my second bonuses are always flimsy,
I have 3, and like one's
Yeah.
on 2 of them.
and that's your answer right there. Now, what I haven't been able to figure out from Sterling is why he doesn't want to team up with me against Storm, but I also am not terribly comfortable with that sort of thing, in that like this like seems to blur the lines of fair play.
Like, while I'd say she is getting a good troop income, it's proportional to the amount of troops she has as well.
Sure, but like your problem is that like you're always in the fire, like you're right in the middle of things, so you'll never actually be able to do what I'm doing, which is like staying behind, like in the shadow of first place. Like you'll always be noticeable. Like I'm off hiding in a corner. Storm's doing a very good job here of really controlling position. Like this Churchill cap that she has is key to like her entire defense, and that it locks up everything except for like the back door in Newfoundland. So any attack has to go through there. But what happens is Sterling has blocked that off, and Pete has blocked that off with his cap. And that's not to say that it's walled off. It's actually like this thing that happens where you hide your big stack right behind like your other external stacks. And what happens then is you don't want to attack it, because if you do, then you're going to, you're going to expose yourself, and you're going to like have an exposed attack. And that's something interesting that I see, in that like that's not something that happens like in chess often at all. Like it's very rare that like you end up like in an exposed state or something like that. But in Risk, it always happens. I find that very interesting. And like I'm always trying to like compare these games, like to figure out like where are the edge cases that show that like this game is different. And isn't just because Risk has kind of fascinated me for a while, or the past few years. It's really trying to like play this comparison that people have been doing with between like Risk and chess and Go, and trying to see like where are they the same and where are they different? And where is it most important that they're different? I don't know. Do any of you have experience with Go?
No.
It's very weird. It's a lot like Othello, except if Othello was like on steroids.
Yeah, I'm in the top 5% for Othello players. But I've played like Go enough to like be able to play it, but I'm not particularly good.
Yeah, so imagine Othello if the goal wasn't actually to control the entire board. It was to create like beautiful structures. But
yeah,
it was
very.
also like an 18 by 18 board as well instead.
Yeah,
like
it's very fun. Like I've played it a few times, but like it's just like even to understand how to play,
Yep.
it's tough. Let alone how to master it.
Well, it's the problem I always have with poker, in that like I don't know how to score poker. So like why am I going to play poker? Like if I don't even know if I'm winning.
What do you mean? You scored,
Like
you scored by winning money?
I don't find poker too tricky. Like it's one of those things that like once you get the hang of it, it's actually not that bad. But yeah, I think with any game, it helps a lot to just have one friend in the group who like knows the rules, so that they can just like keep an eye that it's running smoothly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's more me making an excuse for why I'm not doing more poker. Like, my actual problem with it is, like, this game of, like, trickery. And that, like, I'm playing games almost for escapism. And that, like, I'm not actually interested in them for, like, their strategic value. I'm interested in to, like, kind of have it as a distraction. And in that, like, I want a good distraction. I don't want, like, a distraction that makes me feel bad about the world. Like, where, like, I'm playing this game with my eyes, where, like, I'm trying not to, like, I'm trying to like stare them down as hard as I can and like focus on their pupil and like the very corner and like at that point like get them to like be convinced that like I do have the ace of spades or something. And that's like for the same reason I was never interested in Among Us. Like that's like it says something about like why I play games more than anything.
Yeah, have you considered like suiciding into my stacks in a way that lets me have your bounty point, but like not so hard that Infernox will get it before me?
This is the thing, like I'm such a good ally, I wouldn't actually take the bounty on Sterling. Like even if like he had like unless he had like 5 groups left.
Oh, that's
something.
ridiculous. That is a ridiculous.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
but this is the thing.
okay.
I am ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay.
I probably wouldn't either.
I mean, I'm not necessarily ruthless enough to be the best in any game. Like, I don't have that like just absolute drive to like just slash through anyone. Like, I want to play a game because it's fun, and like because of that, like if I feel like it's not fun messing with an ally, I don't do it. Which makes it becomes a very weird dynamic when you get really good at a game, because like that's not what anyone else does. Like everyone else like breaks an alliance in a second if it's helpful to them, and it's just it's just how you play.
I couldn't agree with you more.
That's good because I think we need an alliance together at this point.
Now you want to be my friend?
I think it has to because like we're stuck in a stalemate, and what I'm trying to figure out.
If we start pushing for a card block, it should push us out of a stalemate.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out what
something has to happen as a result of that, surely.
Yeah.
We can never have a card block and it just ends peacefully.
Because like what I would like to happen now is like I basically switch off of Sterling and go over to Storm, but that's not how I play. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum in that like I have an obvious move, but I'm not willing to do it.
I am not going to do good in this tournament game. I can tell you that right now. I do not have the patience for the long game.
Yeah, I don't blame you with that. Like the key for me is like because like I'm like a hyper productivity person. Is just like kind of like leveraging like how like distractible I can be to just getting like 2 or 3 things done at once. Like when I'm playing like a 2 or 3 hour game, just kind of having it as a background thing, like in the way that like someone would like if they're driving on the road or something, they would like be listening to a baseball game or something.
Right.
Because like right now,
I
like
find sometimes with stuff like fixed, I actually do better if I'm doing something else at the same time, so I get less frustrated if someone does something annoying. Like it's much easier to be patient.
yes,
If you're doing something else than if you're like painstakingly waiting for each of your turns and then someone does something annoying.
exactly. Because like that's the game of stalemate is waiting to break someone's will. And if you're you're just like making a sandwich or something while you're playing, you're not gonna get your will broken. Like it's just not gonna work. And like that's why I always encourage like the tourney players, like, hey, like have something else going or do something else while you're playing. Like do not like just sit here and stare at the screen. And that's kind of like
do
what
you
I
want
always
to move your 73 stack to Innovic to try and block speed so something happens?
Let's do this.
To
A
which
lot
one?
more is going to happen if we actually
Igloo
try and
lick?
make some action.
Yeah, I'm going for that one anyways. I love that territory. It's great. Is that really a name of a place in Canada, Pete?
What, Inuvik?
No.
Which
Is
one?
that what it's called?
Which one?
Igloo lick or whatever.
Yeah. The natives, the Inuit, they have their language up there, so there's a lot of very interesting. They have their own writing system too, their own script. It's kind of beautiful in its own way.
Is that the one that you wanted me to move to?
The one next to Pete.
Oh, whoa. I see that's the other way. I wasn't going to go that way, but I guess so. Sorry. Actually, Pete has been really nice, and he gave me a cap. So I can't do
this
that.
game to go on forever since you're going to be more patient than us.
I think we all might
super
have.
patient.
What I'm realizing is I think we all might actually have to team up on Sterling, and I don't want to do that, but we must think of the viewers here, and what the viewers is they want the game to speed up.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I've been really enjoying this conversation. I feel like you could talk forever, so you're a super interesting dude, Infernox. I like listening to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't know, like the Pete experience is. I don't quite understand it.
What do you mean?
And I feel like I feel like we've had very different lives, but like we're very similar people, and like I'm very curious to like understand like how like these different paths like could have ended up like in such a similar like mentality.
Well, I'm an open book, man. You can ask me anything if you're confused.
Well, this is the hard part. Is like you're confused about what you don't know.
Sure.
And you don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what to ask. And like what I always find is,
yeah.
And like just epistemologically, like if you have the question and like the best question, like you're going to get the answer, like basically every time. And that's just how it goes.
Okay.
It's just figuring out that question, and for me, like that's usually just staring at the problem, and that's like kind of how I understand people. Is just I watch them like for long enough, and then I understand like how they think.
So where my head goes on that note is I find that we are surprisingly dishonest with ourselves. Right? Have you ever heard the saying, "You're the best person for yourself to fool," something to that effect?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so just when you're talking about asking the right questions and as far as theory of knowledge goes, like I pay very close attention to the story I tell myself, and I try my best to ask openly and honestly as much as I can, and then listen very carefully to the answer. Because inevitably you'll get an answer. It might not be what you want to hear. But if you honestly ask a question, you will hear the answer if you're listening. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that is something that seems key for me, and it reminds me that like something I really need to learn is true mindfulness, because like what I have right now is like a real like I guess bodiliness or something, like where like if I'm hungry or something, I'm very aware that I'm hungry, or like I don't know if my foot fell asleep, like I'm very aware of that, but I don't hear anything in my head. And I know that, like, for others, like, I don't know, if you're pissed off at someone, you're like, you'll hear, like, a thought, or I assume you hear a thought like, oh god, this asshole, or like something like
Storm,
that.
You see what he's done, right? This is his fault, not mine. Yes?
I actually was looking at him doing it, and I was like, you sucker. Because I knew that meant that I was going to get
stop
broken.
him.
I will.
Good.
There's no way to card block anybody on this map. It's just not possible.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Infernox, but
some troops on your right-hand flank.
What now?
He's saying,
If you
or you
put
work
some
with
troops.
him. Yeah, work with him and pin me in.
Infernox is giving it away anyway.
So what I'm going to do here is encourage action. But what I'm going to do is hold both positions.
Yeah, sure. Surely if you put some troops on Rimouski and some troops on Nova Scotia.
He's not even close to. He's just gonna. Oh, you guys want him to suicide? Is that what you want him to do? Because
Yes, that is what they
Well, I
want.
mean, so long as he hits me instead of you, you're fine.
Well, no. So the thought storm is that if I blitz a stack, then there's less troops on my cap, so it's better odds for all you guys, right?
Oh.
Yeah,
But
he wants me to
Partly,
suicide.
I just sort of want to see what happens.
So Pete, like what I actually want you to do
Yes, sir.
is I want you to move all of I mean, don't actually do this. Like, I want you to think for yourself before anything else. But, like, get out of this 2-cap game. Like, this 2-cap game is stalled out, and it's
What
not going to
I'm
help.
starting to see in this is that nobody's going to get card blocked in the real tournament game because it is way too difficult to do, especially without communication.
Right.
Yeah, you have to coordinate with everybody, and not everybody's gonna.
I don't
And
think
even then,
like,
it's really hard.
they'd not even necessarily know what you're trying to do, let alone
Yep.
jump on the bandwagon with helping out.
Yeah, so, like, what I'm saying for Pete is, like, a technique that I always recommend people do, that, like, they're always terrified to try, and that, like, it's a very, like, counterintuitive strategy, which is literally just give up your pen and just go somewhere else. And
He's
like,
a little bit. Have you seen Phil's videos on the? Oh wait, that continent's not there anyway. On it's called the most dangerous trap, and it's where you're in a position
deadliest
where
trap. Yeah.
yeah, that's the one. Where you have Australia, but the other players are allied, and they have the other big continents. And then how did he solve that? Like, he basically wanted to get out of a position where everyone else was allied against him.
you just abandon it. Or you just totally jump ship and go somewhere else, and they forget about you. Oop, I made a mistake. I thought that was a 4. Okay, it didn't matter. So what I'm trying to do is make space. It looks like an aggressive move, but and there's a higher game going on.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
I mean, I'm trying to get you to over to Yukon, in that, like, that back right corner is useless to you, and it is just stretching your troops thin. Because, like, your problem right now is you're not keeping up with me, and then the other 2 players are.
I disagree completely.
Oh, I mean, you're keeping up with me in the metagame and the strategy.
No.
It's
I'm not keeping up with you, and I'm not trying to. But I disagree that having 2 positions is not of value.
Oh, it is a value, but not until the 1v1.
Because Sterling could have easily card blocked me if I was in one position.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But here's the key.
Yes.
When I see someone do something that I think is interesting, like, I want them to stick around. and I wouldn't just let you get card blocked. But yeah, like, I mean, it's just what I'm seeing right now is you don't have enough troops to actually influence anything, and it's just gonna get worse.
That's fine.
Because, like,
because
like, but it's not. There's no incentive for any of us to kill you, and that's
exactly.
But this is
people's patience to maintain a complicated 3-way card position is actually quite finite. Like, it's harder than it looks.
Yeah, of course. One of you guys will break. To your earlier point about me not suiciding, right? I don't actually have to do anything. Right? There's no incentive for me to do anything. There's no incentive for you to kill anybody, so we don't have to do anything.
These stalemates always confuse me. Like, they can only happen when someone doesn't try to advance their position. And I never quite understand why that happens, and that, like, fixed caps is so... It can be so dynamic, and it could have so much going on, that I can never understand why they wouldn't.
You can understand how I wouldn't in my current situation. Yes?
Oh, I mean, I can understand
So
it.
start
like,
with
in recording a podcast.
Start with the not recording a podcast. Let's assume this game was isolated, right? In my current situation, I have absolutely no incentive to do anything. Right? I get a single card if I can, and I sit on my cap until someone kills me. And if you guys decide to kill each other, maybe I capitalize on an opportunity. But that's it. That's the only hope left, right?
I disagree.
Okay. Good.
I think your actual hope is get your consonant bonus back and get this essentially troop bleeding that's happening to end.
But Sterling has stopped that from being possible.
But what Sterling wants is Sterling wants a cap.
Sure.
It's feeding starting.
Mainly, I just want something interesting to happen before half time. Like, I think if this wasn't a play with friends game, I wouldn't be going so far out of my way to try and make something happen, and probably just do a bit more. Whereas an important part of play with friends is to experiment with unusual moves and sort of see what happens.
Well, like, what I see is, like, you have two options, and that, like, and based on how I'm describing it. And, I mean, it's not, as I say, like, it is not a strategy people want, and that, like, guess what, like, it is more advantageous to have two caps than one caps. Always. It's just, it takes a while for that to present itself, and where we're at right now is that presentation is never going to come. What's going to come first is someone bots out or gets sick of waiting. And sorry, I'm trying to figure out what to do in this turn. I don't have much available to me.
He's kind of in a position where, like, because we're up to about double his troops, like, theoretically we probably could have a small shot at killing him, but even then, with a 70% chance to take both his caps, it would literally completely wipe out all of our troops.
Yep.
So, like, it literally would just be a suicide to get a bounty point.
So
it's not
let's wait another hour.
The key thing
I
is,
think
like,
that's why, even if it's not necessarily working, like, at least trying to card block someone, or, like, trying to get more territories is, like, it gives you something to do, doesn't it? Rather than just sit there.
yeah. It's never actually just waiting for a disconnect. You are getting an advantage slowly. And, like, once you reach, like, the point that you're 3 times as many troops as someone, you can viably take them out and still be in a decent position, assuming you're not, like, neck and neck with someone. And frankly, like, you don't care if you're neck and neck in this tourney, and that, like, it's 2 more points for placing higher than someone by 1 place, and 3 more points for taking someone out. So who cares if, like, you fall behind someone? It's just waiting for that. And that can take a while. But you don't have to. That's what I always tell people, and they never seem to believe. You know, like, that they always feel like their only option is to play conservatively. You can always do something. You can always try something.
I think also just having a sub-objective in the short run can help with just keeping up the patience. Like, if you're in really long prog caps or prog zombies or something, like, once you've reached that point where no one's going to die soon, if you just think of it in terms of, I'm just going to wait till someone bots out, you'll probably very quickly get bored and stop playing. Whereas if you think of it in terms of, oh, maybe I could push the zombies back a little bit here, take a little continent, even if it's only like a couple of troops compared to the 100 I'm getting read card trade, it just gives you something to focus on and to work on.
That's what I'm trying to do. Take up space and see if you'll give me a bonus. It's unexpected things happens. So you're assuming the video is in sync with this. Otherwise, like, it's very well timed.
I have to stop Sterling from catching up to me.
How are you gonna
Yeah,
do
I
it?
agree.
What's your plan for that?
We're doing exactly this, like taking advantage of our large, well-positioned stacks, and
Yeah.
Sterling's like very locked in one.
So I have to break you, Infernox, because that's my only card.
No, move your cap and go to a 1-cap game. But
Why would I do that? You haven't sold me on why that would be advantageous for me.
because Gander's useless until a 1v1 situation. Like, it's not going to do you any good, like, until that 1v1.
I don't feel like the position I have in Yukon is all that useful either.
I agree. They're both pretty useless.
Yeah.
I'm more speaking to, like, which one is less useless. I mean...
Why is Dawson City less useless? It's surrounded by Sterling.
But the key with Gander is, like, it's both in the middle of nowhere, and it's very easy to card block. Or, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that, because nothing's easy to card block on this map, unfortunately. It's in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're all on the left side of the map, and then Gander is just like way on the right side, and it's just like kind of hanging out, and I don't know, sending its like MP or something. And I don't know exactly what it does with that.
The question is now if Infernox does fortify his borders, like what will happen?
I'm still convinced I can get Pete to go to a one-cap game, and if that happens, there's going to be a lot of action happening, because everyone's going to want to get that cap. And it's just going to be a mad scramble. But, we'll see. I'm trying to think what else can happen in this game to get out of the stalemate. I mean, the only other option is there's a 3-on-1 situation. I thought that might happen
I'm really
against Sterling.
surprised that hasn't happened yet.
I thought it would be against Sterling, but like the problem is like Sterling's got like a very good defensive position. It's just a horrible.
Well, I see the
offensive
other thing
position.
is that I'm the only one grafting to move things forward.
Yeah.
There's no point, like, sort of shooting yourself in the foot by attacking the person who's putting in the troops to help you.
I'm gonna move it forward in just a minute.
All right. I like the sound of that.
Bit surprised that nobody's tried to really come down on me, but like I kind of do the same thing Pete does, where like I try and just lie in the bushes and wait for the opening.
So when you say to me that you think we're similar, what do you mean?
Just in like the mentalities that like we have, like in that like we don't necessarily like take seriously like all the like we're very like open-minded to like I'm gonna use the word disturbing sense. And that like I don't know, like I mean I've had plenty of ideas that like some would like consider disturbing, and that like you're not supposed to be open-minded about like stuff like that, and just that like I don't really take anything off the table. And that, like, nothing seems...
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So I disagree with that attitude completely, right? I think that, and this might be a personality type that we are just open, but I don't think that an idea is good or bad at all, right? There's no ethical valence to a thought. It's what you do with that thought that determines whether or not it's good or bad. Would you agree with that?
So that's a very interesting line of thinking.
Yeah, but that's what I truly believe. Thoughts are neither good nor bad. Feelings are neither good nor bad, right? It's what we do with our thoughts and our emotions that determines their ethical relevance.
Where does intentionality fit into that?
Well, at some point, you want to believe that you're a free, actualized individual that can make choice. Whether or not that is true, we'll leave that off to the side for a moment. But assuming that you have the ability to choose anything, that is how your intentionality manifests. So you are the inflection point between, the infinite creative force of whatever our mind and spirit is, and the finite fact that we are physical beings who live and die. And how do you reconcile the two opposing forces?
I struggle with it in that, like, I'm so far to one end on, like, the free will argument that I almost can't take intentionality seriously.
Sure.
You're saying that we do or don't.
I'm in the same. He's saying we don't have free will. Yes.
Yeah, or that, like, we don't even have like close to like it.
Yes, me too. I agree.
And that like anything that you're seeing from someone, like you basically can't like hold them accountable for, like as a result.
I agree.
Which is the
but explain it to Sterling, because he might not.
Yeah, and that like I would be holding accountable more like the chemical balance of their brain and the some of the life experiences that they had in the past 5 years and some of their trauma or something like that, than like their actual action in that moment.
Yeah, the notion of punishing a person for their crimes is kind of extremely barbaric from my perspective. Yeah. punishment makes no sense. Rehabilitation makes a lot of sense.
Oh, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
because nothing is gained in separating people.
But Sterling, where do you stand on that? What do you think about all that?
Well, at the same time, you do need a valid deterrent to stop people wanting to do bad things.
Yeah, but I think
that.
it's fair. It's fairly well considered that punishment is not an effective deterrent as far as most crime is concerned. If you look into criminology, people don't do criminal acts in the moment thinking and worrying about getting caught. Right? They assume that they will. They think about the benefit.
Well, what I actually notice is that like it's almost all impulsive. They
Yes.
They just don't think.
They don't think. Period. And that's most of. This is a big revelation for me. That's most of our action. Most of our action is compulsive, not intentional.
Yeah.
But maybe we can split the hair on what our definition of intentionality is. I still think that when I use the word intentional, so describe choosing your desire, right? You have a desire. It's not optional, right? I may be able to choose between whether or not I want an apple or a pear, but I can't choose that I want that pear. So that's the difference between how I see free will manifest or not manifest. I can choose to decide between what I want and what I don't want, but I cannot choose what I want.
I really want to take my big stack.
Say again, Storm?
I want to take my big stack and do something really mean.
Do it.
But it's play with friends and then I'll feel bad.
Do it. Punish the evildoers.
Pretty sure you're coming for me. Like, you should do it. Like in that case, and just let me know ahead of time.
Nah, you can get me if you want.
I was actually coming for Sterling, but now that you mentioned it.
I've been being so nice to you all game. But you can get me if you want. I don't mind that much.
That's why I was coming for you, is because you were being so nice, and I was like, oh, well, he won't get too mad if I do it then. Oh, now I can't. Sad day. I shouldn't have said nothing. Really, I should be coming after Pete, but I'll feel really bad.
Nobody needs to kill Pete. That's a shit strategy, and you know it.
Yeah, but I could so easily do it.
Well, then do it, man. It's okay. The game has to end. We're almost 2 hours in. No hard feelings. I think we've proved a point.
True.
So the spike strategy in a situation like this is to get a single
You're breaking up for me anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're losing you. Does Infernox bot out?
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
In my attempt to card block Pete, it seemed that Pete was more patient with me attempting to do it than Storm was. So yeah, it crumbled.
You tried. It was a noble effort.
I'm gonna do it. Wait, what's in my way? Do it. Think? No, I don't have enough to do it. Somebody needs to open up my other cap.
Which one?
The one I can do something with? The 151? Well, that doesn't help either.
I mean, it's kind of infinite, but only need to go through some small numbers of orange.
Yeah, that's true too. I'm gonna do it. We'll see what I get on this one. We'll see what kind of roll I get on this one.
Oh no.
Oh no, here we go.
I mean, you're winning, so it's worth...
Ah!
Oh, that was a bad roll.
That was the worst roll I've ever seen in my life. Well, I might as well stop now.
Yeah, like sometimes
Bad
you do
day.
lose less than that.
That was
And in
a
that
really
case-
bad roll. What was that? Oh, now you can suicide into me. I don't mind. What was that roll?
Spider Blister.
I lost 245 troops, and you lost 131. 245 troops I lost.
Yeah, this is the right move there.
How does it end?
We team up against
Yeah, how
Infernox.
does it end? What? I've been so loyal to Stupid. But no, this is ignore like if I'm loyal or not. I actually pay attention to it, I always win.
I'm quite happy with my bounty points this game.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sad I assisted.
Pushes you off the placement there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does help my placement, though. That's true.
Infernox is winning now.
Oh no! Hmm. How many hours did it take to build up that stack that was crashed in 1 second? I'm so sad.
Many hours.
Impressively, you still summoned of the most troops after that roll.
Well, that's only because you took the bounty.
Yeah.
How many did I lose? Okay, you had 66 on it, and I lost 104. I think Storm did have a very big troop lead to begin with, which kind of cushioned the impact.
Oh, I did. I think I had like 200.
You had like 544, and me and
Yeah.
Infernox were about 400 each. Three-way endgames tend to be quite tough, especially when it's balanced, because you're kind of weighing up the combination of like what you're attacking, but also who you're attacking. What are you supposed to do in three-way endgame when you are the lowest on troops?
Lose?
Try not to piss anyone off. I don't know.
Like, are you meant to go? Like, are you meant to attack neither person? Are you meant to attack the stronger person, the weaker person?
Good question.
Are you meant to attack both?
Sorry, I apologize. I'm not saying much here. I'm in a desperate hunt for a USB-C charger, and that I'm at 3%.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
you called it. That time has come.
Well, if you do bot out, then the bot will have quite a lot of troops.
Hey, I didn't even attack you last turn. That's so weird.
Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah, feel free to take all that back. Sorry, as I said, I'm not paying much attention right now. I'm literally just, like, scanning my environment, trying to find any sign of a charger. I have, like, every other charger I could need, but I never use USB. So I just haven't updated all my chargers yet.
Oh shit, that doesn't go that way. Damn it.
Oh wow.
What was the point in that? Did you just need more
To end
caps?
this freaking game. I just want more caps.
It's quite a good roll, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, you only lost 105 hitting an 80 cap.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Now you go after his, and then we fight it out. That's how it works.
I mean, for all we know, he might run out of charge first.
True.
Yeah, true. This is like the exact situation you actually want to stalemate. I would say I have like 10 minutes max on charge.
Now, Infernox really has a big troop advantage now.
Yeah, he should just take all my caps.
That's what I have to do here. It's just like cross my fingers that like I can somehow like give my bot a victory.
You got
That's
the
not
bounty
big enough
points anyway,
advantage.
Sterling. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Sterling, you very much won this game.
Yeah.
What? You've got 400 troops and I've got 200.
Sure, but
Yeah,
like this is a game of
on
bounty
points. I
points.
feel like first plus 3 bounties at the end of the world. What is 3 bounties at 9 points?
Yeah.
Third is 4 times 2 is 8. Yeah, 17 is a good score. First always... Oh, actually, it's possible to do a cap run, isn't it? But like, first will generally come with a bounty. The first would be 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3, 15.
Sorry, I'm trying to be dramatic here, and like leave this decision on whether to do a cap run or not, like up to like the last moments of me being at 1%. Which I mean, you all don't even know. I suppose it should be screenshot.
I think you probably would have a better shot. How much is on the cap? You got 400. You'd have to have 130. Yeah, I think you'd be at 0% for blitzing them, and it's just a long run anyway, so you'd be better to just try and kill someone and get a bounty.
Yeah. Let's see. Can I get one? I'm just short of like what I would need to get you. Yeah, I think we
Additional
Are we gonna-
matters as well. Like
Are we going to lose
a
your
random
audio?
14 you have at the top isn't necessarily going to let you hit my cap in a useful way on this turn.
Infernox, are we going to lose your audio if you run out of power?
No, not my audio. I'll be
Okay.
fine on the audio.
Just the game.
And yeah, just the
Got
one
it.
that like.
Got it.
Well, I mean the audio is more important anyways, but.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say goodbye to you if it turned out that you were gonna disconnect.
No, we're good on that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I got anything I could possibly want out of this game. I understand Sterling a little better now, and I had a very good conversation with you all that doesn't have to end anytime soon.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm confused by who's winning now. Is it the player with 4 caps, or is it the player with the most troops?
We'll see if Storm can make it to a 1v1. It will be her.
Right.
It's just finding a way to get to a 1v1 here and not being the next one taken out. I mean, either way, I'll be the next one taken out, and then, like, seriously, like my tablet will die in 3 minutes.
We'll get to watch your bot get killed.
Yeah, I do wish these settings were on. It had the hard bot, and that the hard bot stays on the cap a little longer, and like is also like even more aggressive. But you know, I mean, every iteration.
This is the same point again as when I was attacking Pete. Like, once you've already broken someone, you better to hit them more, or to like have some level of not being annoying.
I would say if you're speaking about. Well, it depends on the individual, right? But if you're hitting me, and you hit me, you should hit me as hard as you can.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, I tend to try and balance out like what they've done. So, like, if they've cost me 9, I'll want to cost them 9.
Yes.
If they've cost me 30, like, I'll want to cost them 30. But like, I think for a lot of people, it's like, what? Wait, why has he done that? Has he botted out?
Yeah, I figured the bot's just gonna ram through you. And also Storm's disconnected from all her other troops, so she won't actually be able to hold both of those.
I might as well have them while I can, because the bot is gonna destroy me.
Yeah, that's why I positioned the bot where I did. I'll probably move it over actually to like that. What is this called?
I'm surprised you didn't just leave like 20 on the cap just to make it a little bit harder to stick with.
I figure I'll make my point clear that like I have no business holding that cap anymore while the bot happens.
Someone's probably
I mean-
won this.
I mean, what's gonna happen now is like the bot's just gonna spread as much as possible, and it'll be probably whoever can manage that better, except for if you can grab one of the caps from Storm, which you should be able to. I've actually been surprised you didn't take the Churchill one, but
Yeah, me too.
that Churchill one's a better spot than you're in right now. But we'll see. I'm amazed my tablet doesn't die.
I don't want the bounty, but like, I don't think I'll be able to get it.
Here, I'm gonna take as many territories as I can now, so that I block my bot in as much as possible, and kind of, you know, like scare you all off from even attacking it.
Right.
It's this. Okay, that should
Wait
be
a
pretty
minute.
quick.
You broke all of me and none of a Sterling. That's
Of course.
rude.
Oh, I am.
You've got 2 bonuses. I've
Okay,
got 2
okay,
bonuses.
okay,
We're
fine.
equal.
Fine.
If
Fine.
you, well, now I have 1
Happy.
bonus. You need to break that one on the left so that. Whoa, you're letting her have 2 bonuses and not any for me.
I don't
Go
have any
ahead.
bonuses. Oh, I do have one. I do
You
have
have
2,
2.
you're right.
And you have 5
Yeah.
caps.
Well, at least break the one on the left. Oh, you're letting her have 2 more bonuses than me, and twice the troops,
Wow.
almost, and 5 times more. caps.
Favoritism. Look at that.
Infernox is my favorite.
I keep
After
forgetting
all
to
that-
break Yukon. I don't respect Yukon.
That's not very
Oh,
nice.
we just died. We just died. Here we go.
Oh no.
All right.
Storm, can we work together to beat the bot?
Yes, I am just taking this back, and then going back to my cap, and then we can be best friends.
That's a strong looking bot. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah. We need to put it in the deadliest trap by having more bonuses than it.
I was hoping to make this interesting, and that like you all actually have to play it strategically, and that like it'll fortify it, but it's actually trapped. It'll be very interesting to see what type of bot it is. It's always the key is figuring that out as fast as possible.
I think it's probably an automated bot.
Don't open its big stack.
Do it. Open it up.
Don't open it.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I thought we were working
I was
together
looking
here,
at it and I was like, I sort of didn't want to, but at the same time, like, it was the only way to go.
Your finger slipped, huh?
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't mean to do that. I just ran after him.
It won't do anything this turn anyways, right?
Not sure.
It'll depend on how aggressive it is. It might be like
Well,
that really
this is expert
aggro bot.
difficulty, isn't it? Expert.
Yeah, it's an expert bot.
It's an automated, probably. Definitely. Well, I don't know. Reddit seemed to be pretty sure that that's not a thing.
Yeah, because we're gonna take everything they say as gospel.
What is not a thing? What did I miss?
Sterling made a post asking if players noticed that player bot outs limit the potential bot personalities that it could end up being versus, you know, starting a game as a bot.
And it got like 100 votes as well. It was crazy. But like, I think most people weren't sure if it mattered whether it was like a pure bot or a like a disconnect bot.
My
But then,
answer,
like-
my answer would be I'm not sure. I haven't been able
Yeah.
to discern a pattern there.
No, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But then a lot of people said no, like it's exactly the same whether it's a disconnect or a pure bot.
Yeah, but how do they know?
Damn. Maybe it just seems to behave in the same way. I think Nick as well mentioned that he's discovered a splitter bot personality. Because he plays Simple World
Right.
with 4 bots, like for ranked. Or at least I can't remember how many bots it is, but it involves bots. And he said he's like discovered a special type that's different to the others.
So I play usually with 2 bots, and players often bot it as well. So I'm pretty comfortable with it as well. But I can't tell you with any confidence whether or not the pattern changes.
There's definitely some bots that just attack more than others, but
Right.
beyond that, like I'm not too sure. See, this one's seeming to be doing quite a lot, and I think that's an expert thing as well. Like, often on hard difficulty, when people bot out, they just don't do that much. Whereas on expert, they tend to like work a bit harder.
So unfortunately, based on this outcome, I don't feel any more confident in my tournament game than I did before.
I can give you a
I'm
clue.
definitely not winning.
Like, so, like the thing that I always tried to establish with people last tourney was just be open-minded, like be willing to make moves that feel weird and like that you're not sure about. But that the worst thing you can do is do nothing, because every single turn, another turn that someone else did something and advanced in any way. And like doing nothing literally accomplishes nothing. Like that's the goal of it. It doesn't even like get you closer to losing. It just does nothing. It lets someone else decide, like the game.
I don't know. Sometimes though, like it does work as well.
Yeah.
This bot's really aggressive.
It's always the most fun.
It's like a spreader. It's like it's
Watch back and
continental,
play
but
back.
also aggressive and also like just feisty.
It's a feisty bot.
Wondered if there's any correlation between the color and the bot personality, but I haven't actually looked into it.
What do you mean?
If they like use that as a factor at all, when like either players bot out or what the bot starts out as, and that like I don't exactly understand how like we choose like our favorite colors, but there is a link there between certain personality traits and the colors that you prefer.
But not for the bot, right? Surely the bot doesn't.
Well, I'm saying like
the bot doesn't have a favorite color.
well, no, of course not. But like, how would you code like what personality the bot has? Would you just make it random, or like would you have like a feature that determines it?
Sure. I'm not even entirely sure whether they stay the same personality throughout the game or if it's possible to change.
I've seen them change.
I've never seen them
I've
change.
seen them change. Yeah, pretty sure.
Like, what made them change? If you're sure at all.
Oh, I couldn't tell you the reason behind it, but and it also might not happen anymore. But do you remember how there used to be like a very pacifist AI that like didn't take cards even in
And
pro?
it like turns evil at some point.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it would switch to the hyper aggressive one. I've seen that happen.
I've heard rumors of that, but I've never personally
I've seen it happen.
run into it, or at least I've not noticed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I have an answer for you, but it is not a public one.
I see. Well, you know I don't edit my show, so.
Exactly. And I don't blame you for that. Like, that's the best way to do it, because that optimizes for most content. And what people actually want is, like, to choose. And, like, if some content sucks, they'd rather just say, okay, I don't touch that.
I just don't have time, man. Right? I don't have time to
No.
learn the skill set and also do post-production on top of trying to produce
It
a
takes
video
so much
daily.
time, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like often editing, like you can take more time than actually making the thing.
Which is kind of hilarious because, you know, it's already super ambitious to try and put out a video daily. So I'm doing my best here.
Well, I've been curious about this. How much do you pre-record?
What do you mean? How many days ahead of time?
Yeah, like, you're not actually recording, like, every single day, right?
Sometimes I do. Like, I'm trying to go away next week, so I'm actually trying to build an entire week in advance, which is something I haven't done ever.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. Okay.
Yeah.
Because what can happen there is burnout.
It's funny. I'm yet to burn out from this game. It's very surprising. I would figure, you know, but yeah, hasn't happened yet. Still interesting.
So much variety, isn't there, between like 1v1, 2v2, there's like free for all, caps, zombies.
Well, it's not even that.
Like it's almost
it's
a
more
genre.
you.
It's that big, isn't it? Rather than like just one specific.
It's more.
Okay.
It's more you. It's more you guys. Like, the game is what it is, but I'm getting so much out of the psychology and the connection I'm making with all these other really great Risk players. That's where much of the fun is located for me.
I want to try and end this. I really do.
Do it.
Do you think I could do it?
I mean, I think you should betray Sterling, but
That's what I was gonna do.
I
Okay,
feel
good.
like it'd be a long game if she did. Like I think she would eventually win, but like
Just hit
if
him.
we just beat
Just
the
blitz
bot
his
first.
cap. No, blitz his cap. It's over.
Yeah, but
I
then
kind of want you.
Do it. Do it.
Ah,
I
come
lost
on.
400 hitting my cap. She'd have 192 against a bot with twice her numbers, which would just
Yeah.
be even if she did win it, it wouldn't be quick.
I was
but
gonna
like the
just
cap,
blitz
the
it
cap
with
hit
one
ends
and
the
then
game,
like,
right? She has 5 of the 6, so the cap hit ends the
Yeah.
game.
I mean, assuming she has it all in one spot as well to do it.
Got it.
yeah, I think that if I just blitz it with my big one, then I can just come around with my other ones and eventually get it.
Oh, you put more troops on there, Storm.
Oh, I should have done it last turn.
You should have said anything.
Even then, it's still quite tight. 271.
Yeah, the
The
cap box
80
is
is not
pretty
open.
bad
The
right
40
now.
is
too.
open. So you'd basically be using 300 to attack a 200. So it's like 5%.
Well, I could get the 67 to come over too.
Yeah, you could.
Couldn't
Yeah, you could.
I? Yeah,
I think
and
you
then the
should-
night. Well,
I think you should try.
Not
I mean,
the
you'd
night.
lose 17 on the way. So it'd work out as.
yeah.
310.
You just don't believe in yourself.
I just
I mean, 1.5
like
times
that.
troops, you'd have a 1 in 3 chance. So yeah, you
Yep.
can.
that's pretty good odds. 1 and 3. That's better than normal.
Hey!
At the very least, I'll make it smaller. Let's see.
I mean, do you not just want the bot's
Ooh.
bounty and my bounty once?
I don't want the bot's bounty. Ah!
Wait, why don't you want the bounty?
I just want
The
this game
bounty's
to
3
end.
points and the win's only.
She's done here. She's done here, ladies and gentlemen. We've had enough.
I just don't believe that you do that in a real tournament game when you could have 2
I
more
wouldn't.
bounties.
No,
I wouldn't.
yeah.
So this has been something I've been wondering about this whole time. Like, you keep mentioning how busy you are and like how short on time you are with different things. And I mean, I don't know how much you connect your personal life with your videos, but like,
Yeah,
So don't-
100%. You can ask me anything, buddy.
yeah, no, I've been curious, like, what you've been so busy with. Like, I know what you are in the next week, like the scuba diving trip, but like,
Yeah.
but like,
Well,
I've been curious, like,
so I have-
something
okay,
you've been saying
so
for
I have-
a few months now.
I have a part-time job where I
Mhm.
work outside, like 15 hours a week. So I have to get there. I have to do my work. That's fine. That pays the bills. And then, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll play some Risk and I'll chat with people and I'll do my YouTube comments. I'll maybe record a video. I'll post a video. And then I'm competing in the tournament. I'm also doing event helper. which, takes some time. So it's oh, look what happened there.
That's what I was aiming for, that the bot would take at least
cap.
one of the caps and sort of sit on it.
Too bad. So all that sounds like a lot, no? Is that not fair? And it's the
that's fair.
summertime, so I go away on the weekends and we do stuff, and I also have to clean my house and maintain my relationships with my friends and family, so it's that sort of thing.
I mean, that all makes sense. I was more trying to, I guess, pry and see if you were like a secret alchemist or something.
No, I'm just an efficiency nerd. So I really try and squeeze the most out of my days because they are dwindling. I had my 38th birthday last month, and it's something to be aware of, that my life is now half over.
It's very important to protect your brain.
It's very important to
protect your brain.
My brain.
Make sure that, like just the wear and tear.
I reckon there's still time for us to get the boss bounty. And for you to actually properly get my bounty.
Sterling, you're such an optimist.
I think the only thing getting in our way is actually working together. I think in terms of working out the boss troops is fine.
Is this all my fault? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm saying there's still time if you do want to work together.
Why is this freaking bot parked on my freaking cap? They never park on caps. Why is it parked?
It's because they gravitate towards stacks, so because your 80 stack is next to it, it's drawn to the stack.
Yeah, if you let the bot run through both of those caps and take them back later, that's possible.
There, I'll work with you.
Probably hit the bot very easily.
So what rounds are you guys looking forward to in this tournament?
I've not really seen the maps. Which ones are coming up?
Let's take up. I'll bring it up. I'll bring up the settings. You don't even check ahead of time, Sterling? You wait until you have to practice for it?
Yeah, usually I just didn't go around to it. Got the zombie finals coming up as well.
Oh, yeah. So round 3 is the same as Q1 round 1. The 70% progressive on Mont Saint-Michel.
I quite like that one. It is quite dependent on what the other people do, but at the same time, there's quite a lot of skill to the end game.
Yeah. Like, how many kills can you chain? And then the bounties are even more relevant there, because the game will end before everyone's defeated. So if you can make it to a 1v1 with a couple of bounties, that would be ideal, but that's probably not going to be how that goes. There's going to be a lot of tying for lowest.
Yeah, there usually is as well, because everyone's trying to win, so you can't really you can't always afford to take the time.
Yeah.
In a 70% to try and kill everyone, because by that time someone else could have just run for 70%. I had one with Papa Duck where he was getting angry because he was pointing 40 troops at me, ready to try and take the 70%, and then I think I had at the time about maybe 50% more troops than him, but they were really, really scattered all over the board in a way that meant I couldn't.
Sterling, you muted yourself. You muted yourself mid-sentence.
I guess while we're waiting for Sterling, something I was going to mention was that Obi really convinced me that like 70% fixed is where it's at.
Sure.
And that 70% progressive it's a bit too dependent on luck. With,
Yeah,
like,
it's
your,
way more
like,
volatile.
cats.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Like, it just comes down to like, okay, not even like how good pathing was, how good your like mouse clicks were as you were pathing. Like, how efficient were they?
I think as well, you can't in those games necessarily choose if you're going to win or not. It's more a matter of if you are in a winning position, are you taking 3 bounties or are you taking like 1? So it can, like, the person who wins the game is largely a factor of luck, but the amount you squeeze out of a win does depend a lot on skill.
Yep.
So the settings for round 4 is zombies in Spain. So we're doing progressive zombies, no fog, blizzards on in Spain too. So it's a very tight map.
It'd be a very fast game round.
Yeah, that seems very quick. And then 2 zombies rounds back to back. Round 5 is fixed zombies in Mall of the Dead.
Those are sadistic settings.
Yeah, with fog on too. With fog on. So if you get a good start to you're laughing. You get a bad start, you're eaten by zombies.
Yeah.
Sadistic is a great way to put it.
Because it's my stove. I played it with him.
Sure.
I played it with him, and like, oh my god, like the game went like almost 2 hours, and like I was just stuck behind like this massive zombie stack for like a good half hour of it before I died, and there was nothing I could do because like it was just like the map had controlled me.
Yeah. Your initial placement mattered so much. It's a lot of luck in some of these rounds, really. Round 6 is progressive caps on Archeonos with fog and blizzards. That's a tight map too for fog and blizzards. With
that
caps.
could be a long game, couldn't it?
Yeah.
As a prop caps, it just depends how people play it. Like you can't card block people if people know what they're doing, but like if people just turtle and expect everyone else to end the game for them, it just lasts as long as it takes for people to surrender.
And then the final round, settings we played on your show, Sterling. 2209 progressive.
Oh, that's quite good. Like they have a history of
Yeah.
the finals being quite long games, whereas it'll be nice it being something a bit more action-packed.
Oh yeah, that'll be a 40-minute game, I'd say, at maximum, and nothing fancy. Progressive cards, 60 seconds, no fog, no blizzards, no alliances. Exactly what I would grind on on Earth 2209.
I had an idea that I guess I'll pull the room on with that, but it just kind of solved the issue that seems to be happening with the tourney where you have the points leader and then you have like the overall winner. I've been wondering, and also like this issue of like, you know, you have one prog game that like goes 40 minutes to determine the tourney. I've been wondering if the player that is the overall points leader, if they happen to make the final, and if they happen to lose, if they should get a right to a rematch, or a right to request a rematch.
That's what. Well, I mean, I didn't get a rematch, obviously, but that's what happened to me in the other tournament. Like, I could have, I mean, quite easily won on just points, but then because it isn't points, it's the final that decides it. Like, then I became a target because everyone was like, "Oh, we gotta watch out for this guy."
You had such a stellar. Well, it wasn't just that, man. I had played with you too, right? So I knew exactly what I was in for with that one. We did a bunch of practice together.
That game made me so angry.
Hey, nothing personal, right? I was trying to win.
I know.
You can't fault me for trying to win, yes?
No, I cannot.
Or
I was speaking more to Sterling.
There was one where it would have been Q2 2020, I think, and I got one of the prizes in that, and it came down to that one was based on who got the most overall points, and Baxter had essentially won all of her games in the lead up to the like just every game until the final, and that made it a position where like everybody knew that if she were to even do medium on that game, like she would just definitely win. So, like, the other players very much went all out on her, causing her to come sixth in both games.
Huh.
And then she didn't quite hit top three, which she wasn't happy about. And I think that's part of the issue with the points accumulating, is that, like, there's almost no point playing the last game if you know that you can't win because people don't want you to win.
Yeah, this is why I feel like it needs to be like an asynchronous thing. That like is not actually tied to any individual game. It's tied to like it has to be tied to something, and that it has to matter. But
I guess
it needs to not be the outcome.
in an ideal world, because there is luck to risk games, and sometimes you will have a bad game, you do want to count the points across as large a sample size as possible.
Mm.
And you don't want people to know the points of the people they're playing as they go into a final, because it makes it impossible for people, like, if you're the one who has the most points and people know you're the one they need to beat, you can't possibly win that game if the players are smart, because they're just not going to let you in it. So you almost need there to be a feature in the game that lets you play anonymously, just like someone's the blue player, someone's the red player, and you're just playing to win. You're not thinking about who you're trying to beat.
This came up in conversation last night, like a camouflage mode. It would also solve the need for alts in the tournament.
Yeah, it would be,
I very strongly disagree with like this sort of like feature, and like I've debated with Zero with this so many times. Like, in that I think there's a burden to being the best,
I agree.
and I think that that's not a burden you should hide from. Like, it's the burden that makes it worth it.
No, I disagree. I think from what I've seen of Zeraki's round one tournament games, and I've watched some of them, like, they're just ridiculous. Like, he goes into a game and people know he's the number one player, so there'll be like some noob with a name like
Yeah.
Noob for Life, and they just suicide all their troops into him. He loses before he gets a chance to do anything, and it's
He's right to be annoyed by
like,
that.
it's just impossible, isn't it? Like, you can't. He's not going to be able to do well in games if all of his first three rounds are just noobs suiciding into him to have the lols of trying to kill the number one player. Like, nobody's magically so good that they just kind of like make ninja moves and survive having one or two people suicide all the troops into them first turn and lose shortly after that.
You're right there.
But like, this is enrolling in the wrong tourneys. Like, he should only be doing these invite tourneys, and like should be playing with people.
Yeah,
with
but that's
comparable
unfair.
skills.
That's unfair to Zaraki. Maybe he wants to compete on a.
He's won a free for all tourney, hasn't he? So like, he's perfectly good as a player, but like, risks a game where if people are targeting you, like, sometimes there's only a limit on what you can do about that, unless it's a 1v1 or 2v2. And it can, past a certain point, if enough people are suiciding into you, it does just make it impossible.
It's no easy answer,
There's
is
definitely a
there?
trend, I think, that there's a limit to how many, like, there's very few players who've won more than one, or especially more than two tournaments, because after winning one, it does become harder. Like, if you look at the one Pete had just after the one he won, it was definitely a lot harder for him, and a large part of that is people are very aware of who has won.
Mm-hmm.
And they like the idea of getting to be the person in a game who gets to slay the tourney champion.
What's funny though, I didn't
More
even
than
feel
we
I
like the
got
idea of winning.
targeted at all. Like, I just lost because I lost last run around. So it didn't feel like any sort of specific concerted effort. It was just
Yeah, I mean, in your case, that might be more what happened, but there's definitely been ones like Molly got quite heavily targeted just after the one that he won as well.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure it happens, and I'm sure it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Good for you guys for finally agreeing to kill the bot. How nice is this? Peaceful.
I was waiting for an update. I was wondering if this game had ended
Are
secretly.
you not
and
watching?
told
Do you
me-
want to watch?
I can't actually, because
I
like
can-
of the
I can screen
like the
share
tablet
on-
dying.
I can screen share on Discord.
Sure.
Yeah. I didn't even realize you weren't watching.
No, I've just been sitting here wondering, like, ooh,
That's
are they
fine.
winning?
We're
Is
just
the bot
chatting.
winning?
The bot is not winning. The bot is now dwindled.
It
Oh,
could have
yes, I
done.
see.
It was inches away from it, and I think without VC, it would have done.
Oh yeah.
oh, GG Storm.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, this is good. This is good. Clean up. Well, this is good. Like I felt bad about like how many like like pain in the ass games I've given Storm. Like I finally gave a really good game.
You hear that?
And, like,
He's apologizing.
And then like beyond that, like you played fantastic. Like you didn't make mistakes at all. Like in anything I saw. And, like that's
Sorry, I'm doing. Thank you. I was going to say thank you, but you caught me when I had a mouthful.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
I wish I could eat some lunch right now.
I'm just eating cashews. It's not lunch.
That's partially my selfish reason for why I was rooting for you to kill Sterling so I could go have lunch.
I think for a real tournament game, it's definitely worth squeezing out those couple of extra points, though, isn't it? By actually getting all the bounties rather than
Absolutely. You want
Just
every point you can have.
I think people would be interested in the ASMR food stream.
Ugh, gross.
I agree, but it wouldn't be me. But
I don't know. That's not the request I tend to get in Infernox. It's folks like Stove asking me to take my shirt off all the time. So
What's ASMR?
you don't even know what it is?
No, I don't know.
so essentially, ASMR is like a phenomenon that I forgot the area of your brain it happens in. Maybe Pete knows, but like it essentially stimulates it, and like if like it's like very like soft spoken audio that like has a bit of like an edge to it that like kind of like I guess tantalizes you in a way, and like for certain people that like that area of their brain is like has more blood flow or whatever, like it's something that like they really can enjoy, and like that like is something that like that it's like an in-group thing, except like the most justified in-group ever, and that like your brain actually is a little different. Because like I could tell you, I'll go look up ASMR, and like if like that area of your chest isn't like super highlighted,
Oh,
you're probably not going to get
What is this, third bounty?
Well,
4. You got them all.
This is a good play.
Yeah, but he's
I don't know which way this.
all his troops killing
I
it, and
nearly
then I'm
missed
going to
it.
win.
Yeah, well, you're gonna win
Yeah,
anyway.
she gets my bounty as well.
Yeah.
So we get a bounty each from this. I get the bot and she gets me.
Yeah,
Hey.
sounds fair to me.
There you go. GG. Well, I hope some of these lessons I'm internalizing subconsciously in Infernox, because whereas I don't feel super confident, I would really like to not completely screw up my round, so we'll see. I'm grateful for the chat
again,
and for the practice with you guys. I really appreciate it.
That's the easiest way to go. This
I just
way.
want like it to be a mode that like people see as having potential instead of being a dead end. Like you can not enjoy it. I don't frankly care if like people enjoy it, but I get frustrated when I see people not give it a chance. Because anything can be good.
I think it's way more fun with fog.
Or this map, or just in general.
Fixed caps seems way more fun with fog.
Careful, Storm.
Oh, you didn't get the
Storm.
bounty! No!
I was totally on a roll there, and I didn't even look at it. That sucks.
Come on.
I know. I was like, I'm gonna get it. Oh well, okay, not even. But oh well.
Yeah, but just like I think sometimes making the exact mistake is what makes you remember not to do it in the real game. Like I did that the other day, and I was like so annoyed. But then it's when it comes to that point in my game, it'll just be on my mind.
Yeah. True.
So Infernox, was there anything you wanted to promote? You said you're doing a little bit of work on YouTube, but it's not ready yet?
Yeah, I always have these side projects, and I never quite know like which one is going to actually like become live.
Okay.
And like whenever I highlight them, like when they're in the back end, I usually see them die out. So I'm always scared to
don't
pick
jinx
them up.
it. Got it. I won't jinx
Exactly.
it then. Okay. We
Well,
hope.
and it's not even jinxing. It's like I got the payoff. Like, oh, people know that I did the thing.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually done
Instead
the
of doing the thing, that's a very normal. That's like when you tell your friends and family you're going to quit smoking, and then you don't actually quit smoking because you've already gotten that dopamine hit, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting, Sterling, and congratulations, Storm. That was a good win for you. And thank you.
My actual game goes as well as this.
I hope so. I wish you guys all the best in the
Thank you.
tournament. Yeah, man. Thanks a
You
lot.
too.
Appreciate it, Infernox. I really do. Thanks for the chat. I'm glad to spend this time, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I do have a daily release schedule on YouTube. You can come on down, subscribe to the show, and I'd love to have you. And until next time, for all of you on the path to world domination, good games and good luck.